I love introducing wrestling fans to different styles of professional wrestling. I love proving that theory correct. I always remember I did a show in Portsmouth, a complete family-friendly show, and we had a match between Bandido and Flamita, and they did a complete lucha libre match, and in front of the family crowd, and it ended in a standing ovation. Hey everyone, this is Andy Quildan from Revolution Pro Wrestling, matchmaker, booker, promoter, jack of all trades, master of none, and you're listening to the Chronicles of Podcast.
Hello world, Wednesday 13 here.
Hey, this is Tom Stain.
Hello everybody, I'm Ronnie Ledrew.
Yes, my friends, my name's John Mahon.
What's going on, everybody? It's Tom.
And it's Jamie. Welcome to the Chronicles of Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, days and thems, this week we bring you a very special guest. This week's guest is responsible for helping the uprising and revolution of British wrestling. A man who has helped the rise in the careers of people like Will Ospreay, Zack Sabre Jr., Pete Dunne, and so many more. Join us as we learn all about the high stakes that goes into running a wrestling company, as we are joined by booker and founder Andy Quildan as we bring you the Chronicles of Revolution Pro Wrestling.
Too many puns.
I love a pun. Love a pun.
I think that was fantastic. Very well researched.
Yeah.
Intelligent, witty. You're onto something.
Yes. That's my epitaph written right there.
Before we get into the juicy parts, Andy, like how I know it's very early, but how's your personal Monday treating you so far?
It's a Monday. You find when you work for yourself that every single day blends into each other. So I actually feel quite refreshed because normally we're coming off of a show on a Sunday, but we had a rare weekend off this past weekend. In fact, this is the second weekend we've had off in a row before we embark on a long series of shows. So yeah, I enjoyed the time off, refreshed, ready to go.
Love that. I bet you did not do yourself. It's like it's Sunday. We're gonna. Oh wait, hang on. I guess I'll mow the lawn.
Yeah, well, I was just thankful I wasn't going anywhere further north than London. So,
okay. Yeah.
So, Andy, how we like to start these things is we like to take it right back to the beginning, the days of young Master Quildan. What did you want to be when you were growing up? Obviously, I don't know if when you were younger you were like, I'm going to be in the wrestling business, or was it something completely different, like, I don't know, spaceman?
to be honest, I don't think I ever really had a. I'm sure other kids, want to be a doctor, or I want to be a teacher, or I want to be an accountant or a lawyer. I don't really think I had any aspirations of something that I wanted to do per se, but I knew I was in love with the wrestling business from about the age of 4. And as I grew up, it became more and more clear that I wanted to do something which was associated to the world of professional wrestling, because if you love something, you want to spend as much time around it as possible. So I guess that is, again, maybe it was so long ago, I can't really remember what ambition looks like. But as far as I can recollect, I don't think I ever had a dream of, I want to be this, I want to be that. But I knew I wanted to be associated with professional wrestling in some way, shape or form, and just be around it as much as possible.
Love that. Where did the initial love come from for it though? How did you even discover it?
It was at my aunt's house. So back in the day, wrestling was on Sky TV, which only rich people had. I was fortunate enough to have a rich aunt. My family was very poor growing up. But like, I say my immediate family, but my aunt, she was very rich, and she had a big house, swimming pool in the back garden. That's how I learned to swim as well.
Yeah.
So we used to spend every Saturday at my aunt's house, but in our cousins. So I had one older cousin who was a guy who wasn't around as much, but then all the rest of the cousins were all girls. And we used to go there every Saturday, and from time to time I'd get bored, when they were playing with their Barbies or, whatever, girl games, like we got along to a degree, but, when it came to stuff, they were doing girly stuff and I'd be bored, and inevitably when I got bored, I'd start kicking up a fuss. And it just so happened that one week, when I was being an annoying toddler, they had just recorded the wrestling on Sky to their next door neighbor. And they were like, "Oh, let's pop this." They used to record the wrestling, but it's a really funny story. Like, well, I say it's a funny story. It's funny to me, not to anyone who doesn't know these people. But basically, the next door neighbor of my auntie wound up getting married to a girl who lived down my road. So there was always that kind of weird connection as well. But he was the one who was who my aunt was taping wrestling for. So like, let's stick this tape on. And from the second I saw it, I was just captivated by everything about it, like the bright lights, larger than life characters, just the music, the crowd, just everything about it captivated me, and I was hooked from that point on. And then it became a ritual of I would look forward to going to my aunt's every single week because I'd want to watch Superstars on Sky. So it was fantastic, and it just kind of, the love of it just grew from there.
I love that. What I love most about the professional wrestling business is the escapism. It's almost like you forget about the whole world, you know, especially in this day and age with all the crap going on at the moment. So it's like you just for 2 hours just honed in on what's going on. It's phenomenal. I love it.
Yeah, I think that's the part that people forget about it a lot. You know, it's a wonderful tool for you to forget about the outside world, and like, look, everyone's got different things to make them forget. You know, it might be playing video games, it might be watching movies, you know, it might be playing sports. It could, you know, it could be anything, but anything which has the ability to make you forget about outside struggles and give you that element of escapism is a beautiful thing and should not be looked down on. So, you know, that's where I look at any single you know, form of entertainment, sport, art form, you know, and like I've got a young son. He's into Minecraft and Roblox and things like that, and I do everything I can to encourage it because I know how important it is to just have something that will help you forget about just how crap the real world actually is.
Yeah. Absolutely. But who were those early wrestlers that sort of dragged you in? They were like, oh my God, I need to see more of this guy.
Ultimate Warrior was a big one. Obviously Hulk Hogan, every kid from my generation, Hulk Hogan. But then British Bulldog, obviously being British, as I always say, I don't think people realize what a big star the British Bulldog was in the United Kingdom. He was front page tabloid news, legitimately. And I think that there's never been a more mainstream star outside in the UK who's a wrestler outside of probably The Rock, as a British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. Yeah, British Bulldog. And then my all-time favorite is Bret the Hitman Hart. Obviously going into, I actually had the opportunity to work with Bret Hart, and I told him this story, but going into SummerSlam 92, I was a big British Bulldog guy, and I was really backing the Bulldog, the hometown boy, to beat Bret Hart. And I never actually watched SummerSlam live. I watched it on a videotape that my auntie had very kindly recorded for me a few days after it aired on Sky TV. But I remember the way I found out, I actually knew the results of the show before I watched it. Obviously, this is before the internet, you know, before you could just pull up. And I don't even think we had a TV that had teletext in those days. But we actually got the results of SummerSlam was actually printed in the newspaper, the same way that it would be printed. You know, you'd look at I've not read a newspaper in years, but you used to get all the football results listed in the newspaper, and SummerSlam 92, the results of that was listed in the newspaper. So that's how I found out about you know, British Bulldog defeating Bret Hart for the Intercontinental Championship, and I was so happy. And then after that, I just had this feeling of guilt. I can't describe it. It was just this massive feeling of guilt. I felt so sorry for Bret Hart, and after having watched the match and seeing his reaction and the way he took defeat like a champ, and I said that to Bret, and he said that's the way he designed the match. That's the reaction that he wanted. And I was like, that is why you're my favorite wrestler, because you make me feel on a level, you know, even as a child, you know, you were able to make me feel on a level that no other wrestler was able to make me feel. And I believe as well, if you look back at Bret Hart's body of work, it stands up, which you can't say that about every other, you know. I always look at WrestleMania 10. You look at WrestleMania 10 on the day, the best match was Razor and Shawn in the ladder match. but looking at it back with today's glasses on, having seen all the different deviations of a ladder match, etc., the best match by far was Bret versus Owen, which still holds up to this day. And I think that's a testament to Bret Hart, his body of work, and what a great professional wrestler that he is. But there you go. It didn't take me long to start talking about Bret. Everyone jokes about that as well, but there you go.
You're so right, though, because I'm currently working my way through all the WrestleManias, starting at 1, working my way through, and I'm watching WrestleMania 8 at the moment. And I'm not long finished Bret Hart and Roddy for the title. And my God, that match, it's just above its time. Bret is just so good. It's unreal. You don't appreciate it when you're a kid, just how good he is.
Absolutely. And you absolutely might want to stop before you get to WrestleMania 9. You're probably at a good place to stop.
Oh, mate, I'm dreading that ending. I'm dreading it.
I'm joking. Like, WrestleMania 9 is one of the most hated WrestleManias of all time. Obviously, the only reason it's fresh to mind is obviously with the latest one coming up in Vegas. But like, I remember WrestleMania 9 very fondly. I wore that videotape out. I watched it over and over and over again. And I actually thought it's not so much, again, it's not something that I believe will hold up to this day. The match quality may not have been the best, but I think it sums up WrestleMania when you talk about the spectacle. And it was most certainly a spectacle. Everyone dressed in togas, just the outside arena. I think it was fantastic. So I always think it's very easy to knock it if you're looking at purely in-ring stuff. But for what WrestleMania is supposed to be, I thought it was fantastic, especially at the time.
Oh, Bobby Heenan coming in backwards on a camel.
Absolutely.
Quality comedy. So, what was one moment where you went, I actually want to start working in this industry? I actually want to look at how to get involved.
Like I said, there was never really that moment where I was like, I want to work in professional wrestling. I just always knew I wanted to be around professional wrestling. I didn't even realize that British professional wrestling was a thing until early 2000s, when we saw like another story about when I was growing up and my family being poor and whatever. When in 1993, I believe, I won tickets to watch the WWF UK tour in the WWF magazine. But my family was too poor to purchase a train ticket. We lived in Essex at the time. We'd have to go to London. I believe it was Earl's Court, the show. But we couldn't afford the train tickets to kind of go and watch the show. I always thought in my head, growing up as a child, I didn't even think that I'd ever get to watch professional wrestling live ever, period, right? And again, the world is such a different place then than it is now. So I think it might be hard for people to fathom this. But like, for me, wrestling was almost unreachable. The only way I could watch it would be if my aunt recorded it, or Bill and Sandra down the road used to record it for me as well. I could never even watch professional wrestling on TV, let alone have the thought of going to watch a professional wrestling show live. And it was in the early 2000s when we saw the first big, I can't remember what came first, but the first big show I saw live was a Nitro. Was when WCW Nitro came to the London Arena in one of the last years of its operation. It was like time of my life, that WCW show. But the first live experience I believe I had was the Bushwhackers wrestling at the Cliffs Pavilion. And we saw it in the local paper, and went to see that, and it was crazy. Obviously the wrestling wasn't very good, but the Bushwhackers were fantastic. It was just like, their greatest hits. And I just loved it. I loved everything about it, and with British wrestling, that local was a local promotion that used to come and used to run shows at the New Empire Theatre in Southend. I don't believe it's there anymore, but it was an old cinema. And basically they used to put the ring on a stage, and it was a rinky-dink ring. Every time someone hit the ropes, it would edge closer and closer to the end of the stage. And you'd think that one day this ring's just going to fall completely off the stage. But then there was slightly more high quality shows at the Southend Leisure Centre. and just from there, you just kind of get talking to people. Again, days before the internet, the way you'd find out about the shows, the programs would have like an A4 printout in them, which would have come and watch, the wrestling in these locations. So I believe the predominant promotions were Rumble Promotions, which has recently been revived. It was the Wrestling Alliance with Scott Conway and Brian Dixon's All-Star Wrestling. So those were kind of the three ones which kind of were around my kind of area. And they all used to work kind of together and often would share the international talent, etc. And I would, you'd kind of see about, oh, we're running here, we're running there, etc., etc., etc. And then I'd kind of, as I started to become a teenager, I'd see, oh, look, there's a show embarking, and that's like half an hour on the train for me. So now I'm kind of trusted to be able to make that trip on my own. So I'd kind of, go there, and you'd get talking to more and more people. And I always say that's one of the beauties of British wrestling. Also, one of the detriments is it's kind of very easy to get involved if you talk to the right people. You get your face known. You get about the place, etc. And I guess that's what I did as an annoying teenager. And I made a kind of a group of friends. Many of them based from the UK Fan Forum, this legendary forum where everyone used to talk. This is as the internet became a bit more of a thing. So like back when I first started going to watch shows, it was the BraveNet forums. So like where you didn't have to have a username, or you could just log in and you didn't have to log in. You could just put, this is Bret Hart, type in this message. You could pretend to be anyone, right? But the UK Fan Forum was the first thing that I can remember where you had to have a username and password and identity, so to speak, online. And I'd have like a group of friends based off of that, and then we'd start to all meet up. So, for example, I had a friend called Dan who lived in Chelmsford, a friend called Craig, who actually, I went to university with him. And he still helps out with some stuff with Revolution Pro Wrestling now, which is kind of crazy. But he lived in Hornchurch, and I'm in Southend. So, so we're all kind of within an hour of each other on the train. And we used to go and watch these shows together. And then anyway, long story short, my friend Dan had actually done some wrestling at the FWA Academy. He'd hurt his knee and couldn't wrestle, so he couldn't, like, his dream of becoming a wrestler couldn't happen anymore. Then FWA Academy did a referee training course, and he just asked me if I'd come along with him, almost to keep him company. And I quite liked the idea of that because I just wanted to be around wrestling. So, the idea of, kind of seeing where the wrestlers trained, the idea of being in a proper wrestling ring and trying to be a referee, and I think that was when I was around maybe 16, 17 years of age. And I did the referee training course. That I didn't know it turned into a competition where the best referee on the day would get a referee shirt and get to referee on the next FWA Academy show. And I won that and became a referee. And then started refereeing up and down the country. And that's awesome. And that kind of is the catalyst for everything, really. I'll say, like, my motivation behind all of this has always been going all over the place. But my motivation has always been to try and produce shows which you can be proud of, shows which you as a wrestling fan can take your non-wrestling fan friends to and not be embarrassed by. So you can say, I'm a wrestling fan, I go to live wrestling shows, you'll be surprised, it's real cool, come and see it. And then 9 times out of 10, that non-wrestling fan will be more than happy to come along with you next time. And I think that's a lesson. I almost feel like it's almost a responsibility on my part, because I remember how hard it was trying to get my friends to come to shows. And I always say, like, I remember the first time I was able to get friends to come to a British wrestling show, we took up the whole front row. Then the second time, we took up half the front row. Then the third time, there was only 2 of us going, and that friend pulled out on the day.
No.
So, that was an example of wrestling. It wasn't I'm not discrediting anything they were doing. It was fine. It was like a pantomime, it was a firework display. But once you'd seen it, you didn't need to see it again, at least for another year. Whereas I just wanted to be around wrestling, and that's where my mentality came in about wanting to, put something on that people could be proud of. Now, my only goal, what I'd really like to be able to do, is just do the creative stuff. I've never wanted to be a promoter. I've never wanted to do all this extra stuff, but I've had to do it out of necessity in order to keep this thing going. Because, ultimately, if you want opportunities, sometimes you've got to just make your own, and that's essentially what I've been doing.
That's amazing. Like, fair play, because I know you went from being a referee, worked your way up to be like booker at IPW. Like, is that just through connections and working and grinding, or was it just someone just gave you an opportunity?
Yeah. So look, I feel like it's all, everything you do in life. I always say to anyone who comes through wrestling schools, you want to be multi-skilled. You want to do as much as possible. So I've never shied away from trying to be multi-skilled. I always remember, it sounds crazy, I always remember the line that Jim Ross always used to say was like, about certain wrestlers, he's a student of the game, right? And I was always like, I need to be a student of the game. I need to learn about the history. I need to read as much literature as possible. I need to listen to as many interviews as possible. I need to try and understand the business as much as possible. I need to look at other art forms. I need to look at, so I look at boxing and I try to draw parallels to that. What can we learn from boxing? And then obviously much later, MMA, what can we learn from MMA? What can we take from theatre? What can we take from musical theatre? What can we take from all these different forms of entertainment to help strengthen our own? So I've always been all about that. Right. And how I got into booking, and I guess being a referee is a big part of that as well. So I guess I can talk a good talk, but like in terms of booking, when you're a referee, and especially in that time, I was probably one of the only real referees, because look, you've got a great selection of referees right now. You've got like Oscar Hardin, Chris Hatch, Tom Scarborough, Dylan Harvey. You've got some great referees who are, who that's their trade, right? But but you've also got a lot of shows where the referee is just a trainee who's got a referee shirt because the promoter didn't bother to get a proper referee for the show. And it's an afterthought, right? And obviously I learned that a good referee can make a good match great and can make a good match bad, right? That's the power the referee has, yet the referee is a person who's not noticed, not appreciated, etc. Right? So that role of a referee is so very integral. But in those days, I was probably one of the only referees, maybe aside from Steve Linsky, who was going up and down the country doing my job. And as a result, I wound up getting a lot of opportunities doing shows in Europe, working for NWE. I was involved in the show where Ultimate Warrior made his big comeback, which was really crazy for me to be kind of sat with Ultimate Warrior. Like all the wrestlers were having a rehearsal in the arena. And I just landed in this place. I didn't even know what to expect. And they're like, oh, I'll sit down there. Then they brought Ultimate Warrior over to come and sit with me while they're in the arena. So I'm sat there having a conversation with Ultimate Warrior, which was kind of a surreal moment. But like, I was afforded all those opportunities thanks to, saying, look, I'm going to be a referee, but it's just to show you how important that role is. To do it properly and take it seriously. But being a referee, I was able to see, you could look at, see how matches worked, see how certain styles worked, see where to position. I was always trying to learn, student of the game, going back to that mindset, right? What matches got the best reaction on the card? What was the placement of the matches? Thinking about near falls, thinking about how the crowd reacted to certain things at certain times, and seeing what style of wrestler worked well with another style of wrestler, seeing how the technical style could mesh with the power style, just seeing all of that stuff up close and personal. And that, alongside all my research and study, enabled me to be able to talk the talk. And really my opportunity to book IPW came when Dan Edler, the promoter of IPW, the owner of IPW, he used to go to university in Portsmouth, same place where I went to university. I didn't know him at all. Like, he wasn't one of the people who was part of the the people who were going to shows or whatever. But he was running IPW, and I think it was more his dad teaching him how to run a business whilst doing something that he enjoyed. I would be refereeing. I think maybe I did some interviews, and he heard I was in Portsmouth or whatever. So basically, I wound up getting lifts back to the show, getting lifts back from the FWA shows, which were all the rage at the time, back to Portsmouth, and with Dan. And he was, I guess perhaps he got a free ticket in exchange. I think that may be the trade-off. And it worked for me because at the time, the person who used to drive to and from the FWA shows was Andy Simmons, and he used to live in Lith, which was about maybe half an hour away from Portsmouth. And I understand it as a driver. I understand it now, but then I didn't understand it. So we'd get picked up, would go and do the show, whatever. But then on the way home, he'd only drive as far as Lith, and then he'd would sleep on his sofa, and then he wouldn't give us a lift the next morning. He wouldn't even give us a lift to the train station the next morning. Oh. And you have to understand as well, he used to live up this massive hill, right? This woodland area is like the closest thing to like a family mansion that I could think about. Like, like in terms of like, it was very secluded, wooded area. And I remember once myself and James Ty at like 6 a.m. in the morning, in the dark with no light, walking down this wooded hill. So because James had to get to work the next morning. So it was a good trade-off for me, really. I was able to get dropped to my door. And in that, I'd be talking about wrestling. I'd be talking about, as you do in Car Journey, when you're just big wrestling fans, it's kind of all you talk about, right? And I used to love car journeys. I used to love wrestling car journeys because all you'll talk about is wrestling, right? And it's my favorite topic, and you'd cover so much ground talking about opinions, what you've seen, etc., etc. And I always used to find perhaps when I was around, like the people that ran FWA, I would have all these thoughts in my head, but I wouldn't say them out loud. So I would watch it and I was like, this is what you're doing wrong. As someone who's like a referee, I can sit at who's done all these shows all around the country. I might be young, but I've been studying wrestling my whole entire life. And I could see where FWA were making all these mistakes. And almost on the way back, we'd critique the show and I'd explain where FWA had gone wrong, etc., etc., etc. And like I say, Dan had this business he ran with his dad, IPW, and I guess my critiques, my logic, etc., appealed to him somewhat, and and I was fortunate enough to kind of be given the role as a booker, which I did for many years, and then as kind of myself and Dan kind of grew apart a little bit, I wound up kind of essentially it's tough to explain, but like you can't, if you're spending someone else's money, it's very hard, right? Yeah. And it almost got to the point whereby, I kind of had to put my money where my mouth is. And if I wanted things to go the way I wanted to, I had to start doing my own stuff. We tried co-promoting some stuff where there was like 50% responsibility on each side. Didn't really work. Different personalities. But then essentially I wound up promoting my own IPW shows, which are the ones which, how the Sittingbourne shows, started with Pac and Bryan Danielson, ones which had the Young Bucks on, many El Generico matches, and I believe that's where I really started to learn the business properly, and that's really where I started to get an identity in what I was trying to create. That's where I coined the phrase pro wrestling at its best, which stays with Revolution Pro Wrestling to this day. And basically, so all of this started, I guess, 2005 time, myself and Dan, myself booking IPW. I guess as for me running shows on my own, maybe started 2008, 2009. And then it got to about 2000, it was 2012, where we had the inevitable principles split completely, and I just rebranded everything that I did as Revolution Pro Wrestling. And when I say, look, when you look at probably 2009 onwards, like the shows, Dan had no input whatsoever to the shows that I promoted. You know, so it was all me. It was all my creative, all my identity, with no input at all. So I was not daunted at all in the prospect of, breaking off, becoming RevPro. There was a little bit of resistance at first on my side. Someone else famously, a sidebar, if you will, Tony Sefton, Tony Simpson, Anthony Simpson, who he wound up being part of a relaunched FWA. He did a couple of shows under the IPW name as well, which I helped him book. And when he started that, I said to him, listen, mate, like he wasn't liking it at the time. Well, no, so he did the first maybe one. And then I said to him, listen, I think like maybe we should rebrand together, because he had a very similar philosophy and mindset to myself. And he was like, no, we need the IPW name. We need the IPW name. And I was like, well, listen, mate, I was like, I believe it's just some letters. I believe I know what I'm doing. I believe in what you want to do. I think we can kind of do this together and kind of make a thing of this together as something else. Don't care what we call it. And he was like, no, we need the IPW name. And I was like, okay, mate, well, listen, and it was just before I did a tour at the start of 2008. It had Al Snow, Doug Basham, Big Vito, Sabian from CZW. And basically at the start of that time there, I was like, well, I'm going to run my shows here. If I run them as IPW, I'm going to get a big line of programs printed. Now, print in those days was uber expensive. And the only way that you could get the cost down was by ordering thousands and thousands of units. And for me at the time, I was very, very poor. And I was like, if I make this financial commitment to press print on these programs, because I was literally like, I've got these programs good to go, right? And so I could just put any logo on the front. I said, if I make this commitment to print these programs, then whatever is on these programs is going to be whatever I am for the foreseeable future. And press print on these programs, because Tony felt like IPW, it had to be IPW. And then maybe 3 months later, who's coming to see me? Tony, we need to break away from IPW. And I was like, mate, you had your chance. Do you know what I mean? And then that's ironically what led to the start of FWA. They came to me and approached me saying, will you be a part of this FWA thing, this relaunch? Which if it was just a few months earlier, then absolutely I would have done. But I said to him, I was like, listen, you had, like, do you know what I mean? You had your chance, you know, and now we have to stick with the IPW thing because I need to get rid of these brochures, you know. But then fast forward like 4 years, I think I only had one box left. So I was happy to, you know, cut ties and start this RevPro. And like, honestly, it's the best thing I ever did, because I found myself having obviously no restrictions, could do whatever I wanted to do, completely my vision of professional wrestling. I didn't have to worry about, you know, when I just, an example I'll give you is when we did the show at the Troxy, we had newspaper adverts. So I got the whole website redesigned, and which I paid for, and on the front page of the website, there was like a featured event. And I just remember the day that I got a national newspaper ad in the Daily Mirror. The website, the featured event on the website was changed from the Troxy show to some just leisure centre show, which meant nothing. And I was just like, do you know what I mean? That summed it up for me. So basically, it was just an opportunity to get complete control over everything I was doing. And then when I did it, once that happened, it was almost a case of, now I really have to prove to the world that it was me. It was me that was the driving force behind the success that IPW's seen. It was me with the vision. It was me with the ideas. And I believed, obviously myself and Dan had very different philosophies over what would work and what wouldn't work. And I believe the course of time has really proved me to be correct. And that's, you know, but I believe that a lot of the There's a lot of the I don't want to say gambles, because I think everything has always been a measured risk, but a lot of the big leaps that we've made as Revolution Pro Wrestling, especially at the start, came because of that desire to again, I guess, prove everyone else wrong and prove myself right.
There's one thing I'd written down because it confused the living daylights out. I mean, you've cleared it quite nicely, because wasn't the first RevPro originally as an IPW show, and it sort of got changed on the
Yeah, so
yeah, I got really confused with this. I was like, I need to clear it up.
so the first RevPro show was Summer Sizzler, 2012, August 26th, 2012. Now, maybe 2 weeks before that, myself and Dan had a falling out. It was over something ridiculous. I guess I had so Dan had got in a drunken scrap with one of the wrestlers, and I used said wrestler on a camp. Like, it was nothing to do with me. I don't care, you know.
Yeah.
And I knew what both the individuals were like when alcohol was involved, and it was just a falling out between two individuals. But I used that wrestler on one of my camp shows, and he was basically like, well, you're not allowed to use this wrestler on your shows. And I'm like, hang on, so why are you telling me who I can't use on the shows?
Yeah.
And that was basically, that was the conversation that then opened up the can of worms, which was, we have very different visions about what we think and whatever. And I just said to Dan, look, I will either rebrand or buy you out of the IPW name, whatever you want. And his words were, I don't think you could afford what I think it would cost to buy me out of the IPW name. So do you know what I mean? It's kind of up to you what you want to do, right? And I don't actually think that he thought that I was ever going to go through with changing the name of what I did. And I remember him saying something like, it seems like you're more, because I used the Pro Wrestling at its best tagline with my shows, and he said it seemed you're more attached to a tagline than the brand, because I was like, what you're delivering isn't what the brand, like, because I felt like the brand was everything, and I thought the brand was Pro Wrestling at its best, and I felt that the shows that he was promoting at the time was not Pro Wrestling at its best, for lack of a better term, which obviously there's reasons for that, and some of them being budgetary. And again, like, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having the mindset of, we need to make money first and everything else will follow. But my mindset was, we present the quality product and everything else will follow. So like I say, just two very different mindsets about, what we should be trying to achieve. And I also think that there was also a misunderstanding from a lot of people who thought that Revolution Pro Wrestling, that my shows, my IPW branded shows, were only about high level matches, right? I think that people still to this day struggle to get their heads around the fact that you can have high level professional wrestling cards and storylines. They don't have to be mutually exclusive. And I think that a lot of people were lost on that. A lot of people were like, oh, well, RevPro has Zack Sabre Jr. versus, I don't know, like our first show, Zack Sabre Jr. and Johnny Gargano, work rate match, right? But then if you look at the show, look at the main event, it was Marty Scurll and Charles Samuels in an Iron Fist match, which was nothing but storyline, which involved Spuds and T-Bone and Project Ego and so much different elements combined. So whilst you did have that work rate match, and you had Fergal Devitt against Noam Dar on that show as well. So again, another work rate match. But on the flip side, there was also storyline stuff, right? So it wasn't, you don't have to have one or the other. So that was, I guess, the thing. I started speaking to people right away. It was actually Dave Sharp from 4FW, who actually created the original Revolution Pro Wrestling logo. And he was like, yeah, just do it. And like, Dave Sharp's like he's one of these guys who I think he's one of the unsung heroes of British wrestling. If you look at what he's achieved in terms of the wrestlers he's brought through, and again, just a little product he's creating for himself in his region, Bristol, Wales, Swindon, that kind of way. I guess the Southwest. I'm not good with geography, but he always does very well branded shows. And yeah, he created the logos for me. And yeah, that weekend. So I didn't say anything to Dan because my big thing was. So again, one thing I will say is I was always a little bit smart to this, right? So this goes back to that original conversation with Tony. When I branded my shows, so for example, when I did shows in Sittingbourne, on the poster, it never said ipwuk.com, which was the IPW website. It said kentwrestling.co.uk. When I went to Portsmouth, it was portsmouthwrestling.com. So because I didn't have ownership over the brand, I needed to essentially keep some ownership over what I was doing. I knew this could sometimes happen, could happen at some point in some way. So basically, by having kentwrestling.co.uk, I was able to direct people to my ticket page. So it didn't matter if anything happened, I would retain ownership over that website. So, so as far as people were concerned, there was no difference to the show. So you go to kentwrestling.co.uk as normal to purchase your tickets, and you'd still be able to purchase tickets, etc., etc. Now, I believe in a last-minute power play the day before, or even maybe even the morning of the show, Dan changed the password to social media. Like, he messaged me going, "Oh, have you got the password to the social media channels?" I sent him back the passwords, and then he'd changed all the passwords on the morning of my show. And I was just like, again, I'd already made the decision by this point, so it didn't matter to me.
Yeah.
But it just, any doubts that I might have been having, any reluctance that I might have been having, were completely gone from that point. And that's where, obviously, we just completely, the show opened with me saying, this is, this is a Revolution Pro Wrestling show. We're rebranding. This is the first Revolution Pro Wrestling show. We still recognize all our champions. We still recognize all our stories, because look, it was my shows. It was my champions. It was my stories. It was my, do you know what I mean? We will continue to run shows at my venues. And so essentially I was just like, this is nothing aside from the initials, aside from the logo, nothing's going to change. All the storylines that I had planned out carried on the way that they were always going to carry on. They concluded the way they were always going to conclude. And yeah, like I say, all it really did was force my hand in terms of little things. So for example, the first show we ran in York Hall, again, it seems like nothing. Everyone takes stuff for granted these days, but you look at FWA, a promotion which in many ways paved the way for independent professional wrestling as we currently know it. And I'm going to credit it worldwide as well as in the United Kingdom as well, because it was really the first independent which had real branding, had real storylines, real characters. Yes, it was rough around the edges, but it was the closest thing to, I guess, an ECW as you could get without being ECW, and it was the first independent in the United Kingdom that took care of storylines and stuff like that. Shows I'd go to back in the day would be, you'd get a G up for the next show. We're going to have a street fight next time. You'd come back next time. It'd be a whole completely different roster of wrestlers with no reference to the previous show. It'd just be standalone shows. But again, FWA traded off of 3 shows they ran at York Hall. Obviously, they inevitably got kicked out of York Hall. But 3 shows they ran there, their whole legacy was based off of it. And now look at me now, all these years later, how many shows I've run at York Hall. Maybe even close to 100, I don't know, right? But like at least 30, 40 shows at York Hall. Someone have to go back and count. We run a lot there, right? Yeah. And it's just taken as just another show at York Hall. We reopened the doors. We got the wrestling ban away from York Hall. We reopened the doors to wrestling at York Hall. It was to FWA at first, then RQW actually got the FWA ban lifted, but then got the ban reapplied when there were a number of bills left unpaid. But yeah, we did that, and in my head, I'd always had that goal because obviously coming through FWA and being a huge fan of it growing up, I've always wanted to kind of honor it in some way, which is why you've got the RevPro event called Uprising, because that's coming off of FWA British Uprising, which was the first real flagship event for FWA, and that was their first one they ran at York Hall. In my mind, for IPW, I was like, when we get to the 10-year anniversary show, we're going to do Uprising. Well, not Uprising, we're going to do York Hall, right? And I believe that this was the 7th year of IPW going into the 8th year. Maybe the 8th year anniversary was coming up the following month. So basically 2 years ahead of my schedule, I went into York Hall. So it forced me to do things sooner than perhaps I would have liked, but I was ready for it. I just had that element of fear, an element of reluctance, and I didn't want to take risks. And I think that that's what I can credit, the birth of Revolution Pro Wrestling with, was almost that you can't have that fear of failure anymore. You got to risk failure to have a chance to succeed. And that's kind of the ethos of everything we've done with RevPro. And you can look at it from, running York Hall to running the ice arenas to running joint shows with New Japan to running the Copper Box Arena. Everything we do is kind of measured, it's planned, but there is an element of risk and there's an element of ambition towards everything we do, with the goal, the ultimate goal, just being constant growth.
Phenomenal. And like you say, 13 years since that first show, and it's gone from strength to strength to strength. But you mentioned it then, one of the things that really makes RevPro stand out is that collaboration with other promotions like New Japan, ROH, CMML, MLW, AEW. Like, I was going through the list, I was like, my God. But where did that idea come from to collab with like outside companies?
It just happened. I think the idea behind good business is everyone working together. I think everyone has to get some kind of benefit from a relationship, even though it might be monetary. It might just be simple as that. It might be monetary. It might be exposure. It could be anything, right? But obviously it started off with me just using talents. Japan's been burnt a number of times in the United Kingdom. New Japan were very trepidatious to begin with. But obviously we can credit Fergal, Finn Balor to, helping open the doors with New Japan Pro Wrestling. And then obviously we looked after their guys and kind of became a trustworthy partner of them. And that's what kind of enabled that relationship to grow. Look, I don't necessarily feel like the initial relationship isn't necessarily that hard to establish. And when I say the initial relationship, it can be as simple as contact. But the actual partnership, the forging of that relationship comes down to trust. It comes down to all the elements of what makes a good partnership, which we could list all those elements. It could take all day. But it's just about being good partners, being beneficial to one another. And I don't necessarily feel like, I was like, oh, the only way we can make this work is by partnering with X, Y, and Z. I think it's just something that naturally occurred from doing good business with a number of different people. I believe wrestling's an international language that anyone can understand. I believe one of the most beautiful things about professional wrestling is a merging of different cultures. I mean, we're seeing it a lot with our relationship with CMLL right now. I've said it time and time again. I believe that Lucha Libre is the next evolution of professional wrestling in terms of trends. You can look at the strong style from New Japan Pro Wrestling, which you can see it up and down the independent scene, but now you can see it in AEW and you can see it in WWE, right? And I genuinely believe that the Lucha Libre style is the next evolution in terms of people who are able to take that style and westernize it, and kind of give it that, because I think that in Mexico, it's a tourist attraction, right? And obviously you have fans that go to it and are kind of very invested in the characters, etc. But it is still very much a tourist attraction. But I feel, and as a result, it can come across I don't mean this in any disrespectful way whatsoever, but like the biggest likeness I can give to it is like Cirque du Soleil, you know, kind of the just that, you know, the athleticism, the spectacle, the death-defying moves, the high flying. And I think a lot of it is without context. And I think if you can, which is great for the audience, because you have to work for the audience that you're in front of. But I think if you can contextualize that style, as, for example, Rey Mysterio has been able to do, I think anyone who can contextualize that style is kind of onto that next evolution. Because obviously the big thing of wrestling is everything has to change. And because you can't do the same stuff. And what's old becomes new again, don't get me wrong, right? But I do genuinely feel that, especially, you know, with the Lucha Libre stars getting a lot more respect, you know, in the way they're positioned on cards, etc. I genuinely feel that this is, you know, so one of the next evolutions of professional wrestling, at least. But like I say, like these partnerships help with that, you know. But I love introducing wrestling fans to different styles of professional wrestling. I love proving that theory correct. I always remember I did a show in Portsmouth, a complete family-friendly show, and we had a match between Bandido and Flamita, and they did a complete Lucha Libre match, and in front of the family crowd, and it ended in a standing ovation. They didn't know what to expect, but they introduced them to this style of wrestling. And to me, that's evidence enough that this stuff works for the mainstream, you know? And that, I guess that's my thing. I guess that's, you know, I love to be able to bring in different styles of wrestling. I love to be able to create super fights, for lack of a better term. I love to be able to create dream matches. I love for people to be able to think about scenarios of, wouldn't it be cool if Zack Sabre Jr. wrestled Kurt Angle? Oh, he has. It happened in RevPro, you know. Wouldn't it be cool to see AJ Styles versus Will Ospreay? Well, it has happened before. Where? In RevPro, you know. So there are all these dream matches mixed in with our storytelling. And I think that, you know, sometimes the dream matches can be part of the storytelling. So, for example, Will Ospreay and AJ Styles is a big part of Will Ospreay's career and a big part of his journey, a big part of his origin story. And that's how he became the best wrestler in the world, by wrestling the best wrestler in the world. Every time he wrestled someone, he picked up a superpower. And you'll see it often, you know, in some of the matches he has. You'll see those callbacks to, you know, like I can't remember what match it was, maybe the match with Zack Sabre, where he finally won the championship at the top of 2020. Where you saw callbacks from his matches with Ricochet, his matches with Matt Sydal, his matches with AJ Styles, you know, and I feel that's like kind of long-term storytelling through these dream match scenarios. So even though it is a dream match, it doesn't mean you can't frame it in a storyline way. It doesn't mean it can't become part of canon, folklore, whatever, you know. So yeah, that's it.
You talk about Lucha Libre, and then you look at people like Hechicero and the Beast Mortos, and you don't expect people that big, like that huge, to start jumping and flipping over the ropes and doing, you know, moonsaults and everything like that. I think that the styles are starting to coincide as well, because you look at someone like Beast Mortos saying, like, powerhouse, big guy, do you know what I mean? He's not expected to flip, but then now now they're starting doing that sort of stuff. I think it's phenomenal to see.
Yeah, and Hechicero's I think one of those guys who's just got this unique charisma about him. He's a fantastic technician. I think back to his match with Zack Sabre Jr. at our anniversary show, and what a fantastic match it was. My sister and her friends actually came to that show, and their favourite match was Zack Sabre Jr. versus Hechicero. And one of my friend's little boys, he purchased a Hechicero mask from the merchandise table. He was that involved in Hechicero, and I just think that's so cool, you know. So yeah, it's certainly, again, look, modern wrestling is a hybrid style. There's no one style fits all, you know. And I think that many people made the mistake of looking at Will Ospreay and going, "Oh, he's just a flippy guy," right? But like, Will's he's a great striker. He's a great technician. You know, he is a hybrid professional wrestler. He can do it all, right? Just because he excels in a certain area, it doesn't mean, and just because a certain style of wrestling is the style of wrestling that gets people's attention in the video clips, again, you're doing the man a disservice if you call him a one-trick pony. So I genuinely feel that it is all about the hybrid styles. You see power wrestlers who can fly. You see power wrestlers who are also great technicians, and they all cross over. And the people who, you know, can mix and match the most, they're the ones that, you know, achieve the greatest success in these days. But you know, there's so many different elements to it as well, because you still have to have a charisma, you still have to have a presence, you still have to have that star power, you know, and that's kind of stuff that you can't necessarily teach someone. So there are so many different strings to the bow of what it takes to be a great professional wrestler, and I just feel that we should appreciate and enjoy every style. And if there's a style that we don't understand or we don't particularly enjoy, we should try to learn from it. We should look what aspect. You don't have to like it. I don't have to promote it, you know, but you can look at it and say, you know, what is there about this that we can learn, you know, and then try and apply that to what we do. So, you know, that's it really, you know, just to understand other styles exist and to kind of work with those hybrids. And like I say, that going back to the initial question, working with all these different promotions opens your eyes to so many different styles of professional wrestling, and the possibilities of what can be achieved.
Yeah, absolutely. And like bringing it back to home, obviously a lot of the guys in the British scene before COVID went to WWE and obviously gone to AW, and sort of took because the market was huge before COVID happened. British wrestling was absolutely massive. I remember seeing Gunter in 2018 in a little tiny barn in Cheltenham. Do you know what I mean? And now he's on WWE's main stage. But how do you approach talent development and ensuring the UK scene now continues to grow?
So it's I mean, it's quite a loaded question, really. Because again, look, I've made no secret about the fact that I'm all for developing young talent. It's one of the things I enjoy more than anything. I understand, again, I understand that the importance of giving young talent opportunities, and I use the term sacrifice a lot when I say sometimes you'll sacrifice having the banging match on the card by putting someone in an uncomfortable situation, because it's the only way that wrestlers learn. Often, I can't remember, I can't remember what the match was. There was a match recently. I spoke to a couple of wrestlers after the match, and I was like, actually, there's a couple of times in recent weeks when I've done it, and I was like, here's what you should have done. Right, in terms of the way stuff was mapped out, the reaction to the match, etc. Whilst the matches were fine, this is what you should have done. And I'm telling you this, and it's easy for me to sit there and tell you this with the benefit of hindsight, right? But I never want to go up to a wrestler and say to them, this is what you need to do, X, Y, Z, because a wrestler has to, a big part of wrestling is this, right? And it's understanding why you're doing things. There's some unique wrestlers that just do. They have this natural gift of just being able to just do without realizing why they're doing it. Now, that's all well and good, but at some point they'll come undone, right? So I always say you have to try and understand why you're doing it, right? And I always think the best way to learn is by making a mistake. The best way to, because you're not going to repeat that mistake, right? And you're going to want to learn on how to correct that mistake. And that's the type of people I want to be around. That's the type of mentalities I want my wrestlers to have. You know, we're not afraid to try something different. We're not afraid to come outside the box a little bit, because that's the way we learn. That's the way we become unique. That's the way we evolve. And I need them to know that I'm not going to be upset if a match isn't as good as it could be, because they've taken a risk, or a match isn't as good as it could be because they've misunderstood the assignment, so to speak. As long as they take something from that and we see improvement when they're in that scenario the next time. So I'm all about that, giving people opportunity. And I understand there are a lot. And again, this may be where there was a failure in British wrestling. And look, again, what I'll say is, you said that pre-COVID, there was a boom in British wrestling. And there was. But if you look at the trends in British wrestling, you look at from maybe 2018 into 2019 into 2020, that trend was going downwards, right? And I'm not going to say it was going downwards for RevPro, because I think we bucked for trend, but we had some uncomfortable times. I remember the end of 2018 was an uncomfortable time for us. I remember the sum of 2019, maybe the first month or so of 2019 was maybe a difficult time for us as we were starting to develop talent. But that's where we started to develop people like Michael Oku, Ricky Knight Jr., Robbie X, you know. So, but there was that period of development, that period of growth, that period of learning, right? And that period of the fans understanding that these guys are the new stars, these guys are the future of this business. Right. And when we got into 2020, and also that was where our women's division started its real growth, right? Spearheaded by Giselle Shaw and Jamie Hayter, you know, and I genuinely believe when we got to 2020, you look at the start of 2020 and you look at just before COVID, we were doing good business, right? And we just sold out York Hall. The show ended with Giselle Shaw, Michael Oku, and Will Ospreay, centre of the ring, our 3 champions of our divisions. We were going in. Will Ospreay had been given the summer off because traditionally in the summer is best of Super Juniors time and best of Super Juniors season and into the Junior Tag League. And Will basically was coming from junior heavyweight to heavyweight. The British Heavyweight Championship was being used as almost a tool as well to show that Will Ospreay's now stepped up into the heavyweight division. He was going to be in the G1 that autumn, right? And basically, when Will had that summer off, we were going to do Will Ospreay versus the world. That was the idea, you know. And we were going to go to places we'd never been before, venues we'd never been before, towns and cities we'd never been before, you know. And we were super pumped and super excited for what was to come for 2020. You know, even from our office standpoint, we just employed someone full time to do marketing, who sadly we had to let go during COVID. And you know, during COVID, we kind of, again, it's just turned back into that one-man band now. And like, I'm now, you know, growing. I saw we got 12 months left on our loan we had to take out during COVID. It was like which is, you know, it's going to be quite a big thing when we get to the end of that, because when you have to start every single month so far down, you got to make that money back before you can even break even, right? So when we get to the end of that year, it's going to be a huge thing for us, because again, that was one of our biggest hurts, is the fact that we were operating as a full-time promotion. It was my full-time living, but we were kind of doing it on a shoestring. But when that form of income suddenly stops, and we've got all the expenses from COVID, etc., that's where you can run into trouble, right? And that's where we did run into trouble. But anyway, I digress. So as we were going into COVID, a lot of those promotions that you saw, you know, your flavor of the month promotions, they were never financially successful, right? And again, there's nothing wrong with that, because everyone goes into it with different reasons, etc. You know, when they become preachy to those people who are trying to run this as a legitimate business, that can become a bit of an issue. But, you know, a lot of those promotions, they went out of business either just before COVID or during COVID and never came back from COVID. And so that was obviously, you know, where the British wrestling industry was in general. Right. Then you add mitigating factors such as COVID, such as speaking out, and it makes that job 100 times harder in terms of coming back from that. But what I say is, as long as you have belief in what you're doing, as long as you have the right mindset and the right intention behind what you're doing, I believe life becomes a lot easier, right? And our intention has always been to bring through talent. You look at our contenders division, that's another tool to bring through talent. You look at our training schools in Portsmouth and London, that's another tool to bring through talent. We make sure that we always deliver fresh and exciting matches. You know, there's a reason why, you know, when we do Luke Jacobs versus Michael Oku, we can advertise it and bill it as the biggest match in British wrestling history before it gets done to death, which it's going to. You know, and I think that, you know, it's a lack of imagination, a lack of creativity when, you know, you keep going back to the same well. You know, I think it's important to continue to evolve. It's even crazy. Like you look at, so for example, we look at Michael Oku and Ricky Knight Jr. It's interesting. Some people thought that we'd done that match hundreds of times. We've done it twice ever, right?
Wow.
But what we tend to do in Revolution Pro Wrestling is we do, and one of those times was in front of no fans, right? And what we do in Revolution Pro Wrestling is we do rivalries, not so much feuds. So these rivalries are there throughout. So, so it's a case of we don't have a feud which ends, we go to WrestleMania happens, Raw after WrestleMania, we all move on to the next chapter. We don't forget the past. If Mike Loco and Luke Jacobs have got beef now, they're going to have beef in a year's time, but we don't need to keep going back to it. Right. And like, for example, Leon Slater and Mike Loco is something we're exploring right now. Now, given these two guys are at the very top of their game, consider the fact they've only wrestled each other 3 times in their careers in singles matches, and we're coming up with the 4th time on April 20th at High Stakes. It's a fresh and exciting match. Right. And I think that the only way we're able to do that. So if you look at the people we've brought through, like even like the last year, the rise to prominence of a Zazaya. And Zazaya is someone who, we discovered in Barcelona. And when you see talent like that, we have to do everything we can to cultivate it. And I believe that's what we've done, and putting Zazaya in those positions to headline shows, putting Zazaya in the ring with the right people and around the right people in order to steer him and continue to push him in the right direction. He's got the mentality, he's got the athleticism, he's got the mindset, just everything. He's got the pure ability to be one of the best wrestlers in the entire world. Literally all we're doing is kind of giving him the tools to play with, so to speak. But recognizing when that happens and sometimes having to pivot your plans. You look at it, I think I don't want to be making a lie up here, but I believe something like Zazaya, he debuted, so we're not even a year. So in his first year in Revolution Pro Wrestling, bearing in mind he did 3 months in Noah at the end of the year, start of this year. His first year in Revolution Pro Wrestling, he's had something like 38 matches with us, right? And you think about that in terms of development. And the level of wrestler that he's been wrestling with in those matches, including that hour Iron Man match with Leon Slater and the lessons which were learned there, So we're always making sure we're developing talent. We're always making sure, a great example right now, Leon Cage, someone who's just, birthed onto the scene, and Nino Bryant, Jay Joshua, you look at those guys and you see the development they've made. And I think that's just, for me, that's just as rewarding as producing kick-ass shows and selling out venues and whatever, And I think that is a part of it. You need to make sure you're consistently improving because, look, we don't know. There's UK tryouts over this past weekend. Who knows who's going to be picked up as a result of that, if anyone, but regardless of that, we know that we've still got a very solid base. So even if they sign every single person who was at that tryout, we've still got a whole crop of talent there, chomping at the bit. The hardest part of that becomes trying to fit everyone on shows and trying to rotate it, etc. But that's where we've been able to increase our schedule in such a way and keep the shows fresh and keep the shows exciting and keep producing top level stuff, so it's just kind of, it's almost like a conveyor belt. You always got one eye forward, but you always need to have one eye looking backwards as well, and you're always, it's just, I don't know. It's a very interesting, challenging process, but it's one that makes your job rewarding.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm looking forward to seeing it all,
And like you say, with the talent you've had there to see where they've gone to and looking at the talent you've got now and where they've got potential to go to in the future. Like you say, it's just that conveyor belt. And the fact that RevPro is part of their development must feel fucking amazing to you guys.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to see. And it's always great when people acknowledge, look, I want to make something very clear. I don't take any credit for anyone's success. So anyone who's achieved success in, whether they've been a part of RevPro since day one or for 5 minutes or what, I don't take any credit for the success that anyone achieves. I'm happy to see them achieve that, and I will do anything I can to try and help put people in front of the right people and give people opportunities and, help people in their journeys in professional wrestling. And I'm always there to give advice, to give feedback, etc. But I will never push anyone in a certain direction. I feel like for some talents, the path is best to go to New Japan. For some talents, the path is best to go to WWE. For some talents, the path is best to go to AEW, For some talents, the path is best to stay on the independents for a little while, Everyone's got different like every talent is unique, right? And I'd never push any one talent in one direction. I can give my opinion and I can sound them out and whatever. But you know, I don't want anyone to think for 1 second like, oh, he's very independent, therefore he must be against WWE. I'm not against WWE in the slightest. WWE shaped my childhood in many ways. WWE, we could say, saved my life, because I've got no idea where I would be without WWE. You know, it was WWE that helped me learn how to read, you know, reading wrestling magazines. My teachers thought I was thick. I was just uninterested, right? Had to find something I was interested in. It was WWF magazines. To a point where reading and English became one of my strengths because of the expansive list of vocabulary in those magazines. I remember I'd underline words I didn't understand, and then myself and my mum would, who always just was so supportive in everything I did, she would, we'd get the dictionary and we'd look up what the word meant, and we'd think about different ways we could use it, etc. So, like I say, I'd never ever have anything negative to say about WWE, and of course I understand that in business sometimes they will do stuff which is of a detriment to my business, and I'd wish we could be in a place where we were always on the same page and always working together and whatever have you. The same way I'd love to have that relationship with every single promotion, you know. So don't for 1 second, I mean, have the misconception that I'm negative towards WWE. I can critique WWE the same way I can critique any wrestling promotion, you know. But I also understand what a mammoth task it is. You know, I always say, when I look at people, just for example with AEW, and I look at the job that Tony Khan does and all the different jobs that he does, and I always say I can empathize with him and I understand, and I can critique AEW the same way I can critique anything, right? But I think I do it from a place of understanding as well, you know, because I understand how hard it is when you're spinning all these plates, and the level that I'm spinning them on compared to the level he's spinning them on, you know, Premier League football teams, NFL franchises, global wrestling promotions. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I can't pretend I can understand completely, but I can to a degree. You know, it's a thankless job. And I respect anyone who's kind of involved in it from wherever they are. And like I say, I look at, you know, the job WWE have done and the position that they've got themselves into, and it's almost like they've kind of grown bigger than the sport of professional wrestling. I guess they've kind of transcended that, but that doesn't mean that they're not still professional wrestling at its very core, you know.
I think that's incredible. The fact that obviously you don't think about it that way, do you? People just go, "Oh, you're a wrestling fan, or whatever." But it's like it taught you the ways of life almost, which I think is absolutely incredible.
And I think from the wrestlers who come to our wrestling schools, be it kids being off the streets. I was saying to someone the other day, you know, it's insane. You know, I think like there was so much talk about that APPG, and I just think it was a load of rubbish in the end, because I think the focus it could have had to what it wound up being was just ridiculous. Yeah. And I just think about all the good that professional wrestling does. Think about all the the training schools, the kids that are kept off the streets because of professional wrestling. Think about you know, the wrestlers. I said the amount of wrestlers, the amount of trainees or kids that come to us who've got autism, right? And I never really picked up a link with professional wrestling before, but then like you start to notice patterns about the people who come in through your doors, etc. And then you realize, hang on a minute, the reason why this is happening is because wrestling is so simple to understand, right? It's theatre in its simplest form. Yeah. The real world is very confusing, right? But wrestling is simple. You've got good versus evil. That's the base of it, right? And the story which is being told is good overcoming evil, right? And again, look, this is going to open up so look, there's many different strands. As you can tell, I can talk about wrestling all day, but I just feel like the good that wrestling does, you know, like I say, like for in terms of, I look at my life, the good it's done in my life. I look at all the people who've come through our wrestling school, the good it's done to them, the confidence it helps people grow, even the fans who are able to come and create a community based around being around wrestling, giving them all something in common, you know, even you know, the people who debate storylines, etc. You know, there's so many different positives that come out of professional wrestling, and I don't think that's highlighted anywhere near enough. And I don't think that professional wrestling is given the credit that it deserves in terms of, in terms of in general, and in the mainstream. I think wrestling is almost looked upon as a bastard son of entertainment instead of, instead of being looked at like, why is it that you're allowed to watch a Marvel movie and lose your shit, but you're not allowed to watch a professional wrestling match and lose your shit?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Why is it that you can watch a Netflix drama and be captivated by it and be brought to tears, but you can't be brought to tears by a professional wrestling match?
Exactly.
It's the same thing. Taboo. Right? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And the level of skill involved is perhaps even higher because we're not working on scripts. We're not working on endless hours of rehearsal. It's a live play. It's a live theatre. But every single night is different. The way an audience cheers or boos could change the whole match that you see.
Yeah.
Right? And it's instant gratification. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing, right? And I'm very, very, very strong on the benefits, the pros of professional wrestling. And I think it's something which is very easy to knock down. But it's you can't ignore the good that happens in professional wrestling. Yeah, there's some bad, but there's bad in all walks of life. Yep. Right? Don't paint everyone and everything with the same brush and assume that everyone's bad and everyone's got evil intentions, etc. So yeah, that's I guess I don't even know what the question was that kind of led us there.
There wasn't really one, to be honest with you. It's more the fact that how it just shaped your life. How it it's like how it taught you to like read and stuff. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, that's it. And that's the power of pro wrestling. And I think that, and one of the things that I remember doing when we were coming back from COVID is some of the pictures that I was putting out in the lead up to coming back to live shows. And I remember the strap line we put on the pictures was "Remember the Feeling."
Oh,
right? And it was like, it was pictures of crowds, like wrestlers high-fiving fans, crowds going crazy, during shows, standing ovations, the smiles on people's faces, etc. Because I believe that, it's so important. And I just remember, like, when we came back as well, we came back early, I guess, when our first shows back, but we didn't want to come back socially distanced, but we had to. The first two shows back we did, because so there was that Independence Day, July 4th, I guess, was supposed to be the day when everything went back to normal, and then they decided, we're going to hold it off another month. So we had shows advertised. So we went through a lot of rigmarole. We had to refund some people. We had to prioritize certain people. We had to socially distance our venues. 2 shows. We lost a ton of money, but we had to come back. And then we came back, and then we got back to our full schedule. And I remember everyone not everyone. I remember there was some people complaining about us coming back to live shows the same way they did when we came to empty arenas. We did empty arenas with full COVID testing. It cost us thousands of pounds, hotel bubbles, minimal contact. We had someone, I don't even know who, try to shut down one of our tapings. It's not that we were advertising the tapings, but the police came. We understand you're broadcasting a live pay-per-view from here tonight. It's like, well, no, we're not. We're taping, and we've got all these procedures in place. Showed the police all our paperwork, all the precautions we were taking, how we followed every letter of the law, how everything was meticulously planned, and they let us carry on, but just wasted an hour and a half of our day, right? But that was, I don't understand people who want to try and tear down others to bring themselves up, because it was clearly someone who was involved in the industry, because it's only people within the industry that knew the dates, times, locations of our tapings, etc. So that happened. And then when we came back, people were like saying, just because you can, it doesn't mean you should. And I'm just looking at it and saying, well, how come every other industry in the world is allowed to come back? And it's almost like you're looking down on professional wrestling just because it's a niche. It doesn't matter to me if we only affect one person's life, the positive. If we make that positive contact with that one person, it could change their life, right? And you don't understand the amount of emails I got from people who were so thankful when we started doing the empty arena shows. Then when we came back to live shows, the amount of people I spoke to about how happy they were to have this thing back, which was their identity for so long and had been ripped away from them, right? And again, why is one person's life more important than another's in terms of enjoyment of something? Just because Premier League football is liked by more people, why does that make it more important than professional wrestling?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And I always had that mindset with pro wrestling. And I do sometimes think we take ourselves too seriously. And I kind of laugh when I think about how seriously we take ourselves. But when I see that smile on that kid's face, and when I get that positive feedback from someone, it makes it all worthwhile. And we've been saying with RevPro since day one fan at a time, one fan at a time, one fan at a time. And I genuinely believe in that. So it's a very, very slow process. Don't get me wrong, but we're doing it one fan at a time.
I think you should be the spokesperson for wrestling in the world. I'm already a fan and you just made me a fan again.
Well, tell someone with lots of money that, please.
Obviously, I know time is getting on, but I did want to ask you about one particular match and angle that happened in RevPro, because it was all over the news and everything like that. And I've heard it from both opponents' side during interviews, but never from the side of RevPro. Will Ospreay and Vader. What happened here on your side of this? Because obviously it was all over Twitter to start off with. So how did RevPro get involved?
So I had no interest in being involved at all, just for the record, at the start, right? And then it just took this life of its own, right? And a wrestler said to me, "Are you going to get on this Will Ospreay and Vader stuff?" And I said, "No, I am not." And he was like, "You are the only person in the UK that can do it in a classy way, right?" And he was like, "If you don't do it, 100% someone else will do it and they will ruin it." Right? And I was like, let's see. I was like, I messaged Will first and see if he'd be up for it. So I messaged Will and I was like, I can't remember how the message read, but I was like, would you be up for this? And if you know Will's up for anything. He's like, yes, boss.
Yes,
right? Do you know what I mean? Like Will's, I think that's part of his success, right? So Will was up for it. So I'm like, I'm going to email Vader, see what happens. Email Vader, nothing for a couple of days, and boom. Vader's back, give me your number, let's talk, whatever, right? And then I'm embroiled in the most surreal, and in my mind, I was like, I can't remember, we turned this around in about 6 weeks, right? And I was like, because I was just like, this is only hot until it's not, right? Yeah. And the key was getting it out and getting it sold out before it was no longer hot. I believe, come the day of a show, I believe if we'd put tickets on sale on that specific day, I don't believe we would have sold out, right? Because again, look, it's people's attention spans, isn't it? Like, look at anything. Like I say, again, FWA trading off the legacy of York Hall. We do our York Hall show, and the next week it's forgotten about. It's the way the world has changed, right? It's always something's new, right? John Cena turned heel, right? In this amazing angle with a Rock. The next week, we can't even remember Rock's involved in the angle. Everyone moves, just everything just moves so quick. And then there's people looking back going, well, why is The Rock not involved? Well, because everything moves on. I don't know why he's not involved, but again, everything moves on, right? It can be the biggest WrestleMania of all time. And then we'll be thinking, what's coming at, I don't know, do they still do Backlash? I don't know, but what's coming at Backlash or what's coming at SummerSlam or whatever? AEW breaks all records for attendance outside of WWE. And then it's just, we've got a pay-per-view next week. We need to service. Do you know what I mean? Everything's, the world just moves so quickly, right? So you have to hit this stuff when it's right. So I just found myself in a very surreal time where basically I wound up being Vader's best friend for a few weeks, and we'd talk on the phone. But you need to understand, we would talk on the phone for hours. He'd be reading his autobiography to me. The forward that Mick Foley did, he read to me at least 2 times. He'll be telling me stories, and he'd be very keen, like, about his his days wrestling in WCW. He'd be telling me about how Will Ospreay reminded him of Sting. Like, there was no real heat. I don't want to kill kayfabe, but it wasn't like Will and Vader got to London together and wanted to kill each other. Vader was very, and I hate to break people's heart who would love to think that Vader looked at Will as a piece of shit, right? But Vader looked at Will Ospreay and likened him to Sting.
That's
right?
amazing.
I want to make that clear one more time.
Yeah.
One of Vader's greatest career rivals, he likened him to, right? So, you can, so again, like, I think that Vader's just a worker. He saw an opportunity to get another big payday. He was, again, like, I'm not gonna, he was sending me pictures of himself, like, going, look at me, I'm in shape, whatever. I knew the jig was up a little bit when, when he had his flight and whatever. And I got an email through saying request for special assistance, a wheelchair, right? And I was like, this is not the same dude that I've been seeing pictures of working out in the gym, right? And he was obviously sending me a few-year-old pictures of himself and whatever have you, right? The match itself, again, it was what it was. I think it went as well as could have been expected, right? And I think I would say there's not another wrestler on that day in the world who could have got Vader through a match the same way that Will Ospreay did, the same way that referee Chris Roberts did. And look, was there chaos surrounding Vader's UK trip? Yes. Was there chaos surrounding the match with Will Ospreay? No. It was actually surrounding stuff after that, with autograph signings that he'd agreed to, and then fell out with the guy he was doing it with. Were there trashed hotel rooms? Yes. Was it was he high maintenance when he was here? Yes. Right. But the match happened, and would I do it again the same way we did it? Probably yes. I know there's a lot of debate about what was going to happen with the finish. Obviously, going into it, the idea was for Will to go up in the match, and then maybe a week before, he basically pleaded for him to go up and then put Will over in a return match. When he came, it became very evident that there was going to be no return match because he was in no condition for a return match. And it wasn't that he had refused to do it, and could we have double crossed him on the day? Easily. Could we have convinced him on the day? Easily. But was it worth it in the grand scheme of things? No. And the reason why was because we were putting heat on Pete Dunne, right? And obviously we never got to go as far as we wanted to go with Pete Dunne and, his story with Will, because it was shortly after that all the NXT UK stuff that Pete Dunne kind of blew up, right? But it wasn't Vader that won the match. It was Pete Dunne that cost Will Ospreay the match, right? And that's what you need to remember. And there was even talk of doing the tag match with Pete Dunne and Vader against Will Ospreay and Ricochet as well. When that was the idea when we realized Vader couldn't work, essentially. So there were all these thought processes, but obviously it did become clear that we weren't going to be able to do a rematch when he got here. And it was almost a case of path of least resistance, and that's what we took, and I guess that's the story in a nutshell. There's way more to it, but it's one of those, it was an experience, and it was something that, everyone's going to be talking about. And I remember as well when we said, there's a picture of me going like that at your call at the start of the show. And I remember when we said, everyone was like, you're not going to sell any tickets. Do you know what I mean?
Really?
We sold it out. Yeah, everyone was saying no one wants to see that match. No one wants to see that. Everyone wanted to see that match. And what we did on that show is the same thing we do anytime we have these big matches. We stacked the show up and we made sure, even if you look, you could have turned the show off at Vader and Ospreay. You could have left before Vader and Ospreay happened, right? And you still would have got a top to bottom fantastic professional wrestling show. And on that show as well, the heat that Vader got for his entrance was insane. The only funny thing I will say about it as well, though, is Vader, I was big on. Vader had done a lot of indies, like in a tracksuit, right? And I was big on, you can't wear a tracksuit, you need to be Vader, right? And he was backstage at the show and he looked the bollocks. He had his full Vader ring gear on, the mask is on, and he's like, fuck me, this is Big Van Vader, you know, this is the man they call Vader, right? And he sat like this, and I literally saw him backstage. I did the ring announcing for the match. I saw him backstage looking like that, and he comes out for the match, and he's got this crappy, like, t-shirt on, like it's like a sleeveless t-shirt, and it had a hole in it. There's maybe 2 holes in it, right? Like a moth-eaten old t-shirt, right? And I'm thinking he's going to take it off when he gets to the ring. Kept it on the entire match, right? And not just that, he got into the ring, he faces off with Will. The first thing he does is take his mask off.
No.
I was like, oh. So that's just a funny little bit. And I was probably more upset about that than anything else, if I'm going to say, you know, what was I upset about, you know?
Fucking incredible.
I know I'm queer out of time, but I just want to talk about the women's division really quickly, because obviously your current RevPro women's champion is Mercedes Moné in AEW right now, and that's been paraded on national TV. Must be unbelievable to begin with that that's being talked about on the weekly. Yeah, I mean, look, the women's division is something which has been growing and growing and growing from our first champion, Ginny, all the way through. And I feel that, look, it's been a gradual process. I know, like, a lot of people always, again, this is the thing with professional wrestling. You always want to think the worst, always want to think the worst of everyone. And I've been saying since day one with our women's division, it's all about making sure that everyone who's on the shows aren't there to tick a box, right? Yeah.
And they're there on merit and merit alone. And I'm sure if you'd speak to any of the women who compete in our women's division, they would tell you that's the only reason they want to be there. They wouldn't want to be handed a spot on the card just to be that box ticking exercise. Now, when you grow any division, it takes time to develop, right? And you have to, in many ways, trust the process. But when you're trying to develop it, it's very hard when, you know, you've got all, because again, when you put a match on, you have to displace another match from the card. So you have to be able to justify that decision, right? And when we've got so much talent coming through, you know, we've spoken again about the importance of bringing that talent through and the importance of making sure there's a conveyor belt of talent to make sure that when we get to, you know, when we get to a situation where loads of guys get signed or whatever, we've got to make sure that we've got enough talent ready to come through. And that all takes spots on cards, and it's hard. Everyone's fighting for time. So that's why when you find yourself on the show, you know you've earned it, you know you deserve it. And with our women's division over the years, and of course it's natural, and I say this again and again and again, right? With the with people like, so again, since I got into professional wrestling, my first generation, so obviously you had Doug Williams, Jody Fleisch, Johnny Storm. They were the 3 top guys, right? And they were able to travel the world and learn and whatever. Now, anyone from that next generation that came along, and I'm talking about your Martin Stones, your Spuds, your Jack Storms, Dave Mastiff, those guys were able, if they were lucky, to wrestle with Dougs, Johnnies and Jodies of the world and learn the lessons that they've learned from elsewhere. But on the whole, they're having to learn themselves, learn that high level of professional wrestling, all the lessons themselves. Then the next lot of wrestlers come through. So we're talking like your Zack Sabre Juniors, your Marty Skulls, Joel Redman, Mark Haskins, you know, but they now are getting the ability to learn from your Martin Stone, your Jack Storm, your Sparge, your Dave Mastiff. And on top of that, they're getting the opportunity to learn from these imports we're bringing in as well, right? Because imports weren't really a thing in the generations before, right? It was FWA that popularized that. And when I say imports weren't really a thing, yes, you had your former WWE superstar, but they would come in and they'd do their greatest hits, right? That high-level independent talent wasn't a thing until FWA started bringing that high-level independent talent in, and we all followed that course, right? Yeah. So as a result, they were able to get the ability to work with all those different international talents as well, learning new lessons, right? Then the next generation comes, and the next generation's your likes of Will Ospreay, right? Mark Andrews, guys like that, Flash Morgan Webster, Pete Dunne, etc., etc. And now they get the opportunity to learn from the whole, for lack of a better term, bloodline, right?
Yeah.
and so naturally, each generation is getting better and better and better and better. And Will Ospreay had the benefit of being able to step in the ring with AJ Styles, with Jushin Liger, with Matt Sydal, with Kazuchika Okada. You know, all those guys he's had the opportunity to wrestle with in a Revolution Pro Wrestling ring, right? And he's getting better and better and better. But now this next generation, all those guys we've spoken about are still around now, right? And even like a Doug who's retired, he's still around, right? So now this next generation are able to get the benefit of every single generation, including those that have just learnt the lessons from that generation before, including all the imported talent that we now have. They've also got the benefit of being able to work with all that, like New Japan Pro Wrestling, like with CMLL, comes back into that benefit of being able to work with our partners, right? So it's golden for them. But who did our women have to work with? Right? They never had those same opportunities. They never had those same chances, right? But now, again, it kind of is almost one of those things where it follows a pattern, right? But it's almost like when something happens, there has to be something has to happen at the top to then filter through, right? So I reckon there's probably female wrestlers who are probably we'll be finding out about in the next year or so, who got in to professional wrestling full stop because of the impact that Mercedes Moné had on the sport of women's wrestling. Because of people like her, because of people like Bayley, because of people like Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch, right? But obviously it takes time for these to come through. So the first thing is, and the reason why as well, we had such a strong depth of talent, and the reason why we got such a boom, you're going to do some maths. Why did we get such a boom around that 2014, 15, 16 era, right? Because what happened around 1998? 98, 99, Attitude Era. Yeah. Wrestling became cool.
Yeah.
Right? And specifically to young males, wrestling became cool. Yeah. So that leads to more people through the doors with wrestling schools. You know, that's more talent, right? And then all of a sudden, years down the line, you reap the rewards of that. Yeah. You know? It's scary. I think that Leon Cage wasn't even born during the Attitude Era, but there was, but there were many for many people. That was what got you. It's crazy as well because like you got Leon Slater who sat there going, "I'm old, man." He's like 21 years of age or 20 or something. I don't know, and he's going, "I'm old." Leon Cage makes me feel old, you know. So he's the old man, the youngest in charge. Is now the old man in the locker room. But yeah, my point is that it takes time for these for this all to come through, right? And what we've had over the last and don't get me wrong, look, there's been fantastic women's promotions such as Pro Wrestling Eve, who have been highlighting and waving the flag for women's wrestling and giving them a place to ply their trade, and that's so important. And their footprint on this industry can't be underestimated. The benefits they've had to the girls in our industry cannot be underestimated. But the point is, what I never wanted to do was put women in situations on our shows where it would be looked at as you just had them there as a box ticking exercise, or the women's match was the worst match on the card, or anything like that, because of the levels we're dealing with, right? So every single woman that's on my shows earned their place to be on my shows. And as the depth of talent has grown, we've been able to grow our women's division sufficiently to an extent that it no longer became about champion versus challenger, to the extent that we've been able to introduce a cutthroat collective, a female stable, and look at them as legitimate main eventers. To the fact that we've been able to have women legitimately main event our shows. I remember one of the first shows back from lockdown was we main evented with Alex Windsor and Giselle Shaw, you know. And I remember the first show we did in Empty Arena was Jamie Hayter versus Giselle Shaw, you know, like it's just a testament to the way the women's division's grown and evolved. And what I think is great now is that there are now tenured international superstars who have been able to come in and work with our women's division. So, for example, look back 2 years ago to our 12-year anniversary show, Mickie James came in and wrestled for us. And that was fantastic. Great for everyone because the wealth of knowledge that she brings to the table, absolutely fantastic, and a legitimate superstar in every sense of the word, right? So many lessons can be learned from her. And then you think about Azumi and Mina Shirakawa. And Mina Shirakawa did a great job in opening the eyeballs to our women's division. And then more recently, you look at Kanji's been able to work with Serena Deeb in an absolutely fantastic match. Diana Prazo, you know, these great professional wrestlers who are able to come in and work with this current generation of wrestlers, these globe travelers who are able to work with the current generation of wrestlers. So now we're probably the closest we've got to the age when we were able to bring in an AJ Styles to work with a Zack Sabre, a Will Ospreay, you know, where we're able to bring in a Kurt Angle to work with a Zack Sabre, you know, where we're able to bring in a Matt Sydal. You know, so this is the closest we've ever got to that. And Mercedes Moné is obviously the biggest possible star we can bring in to do that. And I just think it's almost perfect timing for us. So I know, like, I've gone about the houses, and I know there's obviously a lot of fans of women's wrestling, and I don't want to feel like I've kind of done the women's division a disservice by spending a lot of time talking about the men's division. But I feel like it's very important to draw the parallels between the two divisions to understand where we're at in our process right now. Yeah. And we're in a state where the women's division can headline any Revolution Pro Wrestling show, and there'd be no questions asked. What Mercedes Moné is doing is she's raising the prestige of that women's championship. She's bringing eyeballs onto Revolution Pro Wrestling that perhaps wouldn't have been there before, that male and female talent can benefit from, because there's going to be a lot of people who High Stakes is a first show, the first Revolution Pro Wrestling show that they're going to watch. They're watching it for Mercedes. But the opportunity that gives the rest of the roster, that's the same opportunity that we got when Vader wrestled Will Ospreay and all the eyeballs were on us. When Kurt Angle wrestled Zack Sabre Jr., when Rey Mysterio came and wrestled, you know, all those guys, right? And we had that opportunity to put a spotlight on the whole of Revolution Pro Wrestling. And that's exactly what Mercedes Moné is going to do. And obviously, knowing how much Mercedes Moné means for women's professional wrestling, I just spoke about it just there, about Mercedes Moné, in my mind, is going to be so responsible for the next generation of women's wrestling. You know, people probably don't even realize it, but that women's revolution, I hate the way we have to term phrases for it, like attitude era and ruthless aggression and the women's revolution. But the women's revolution is going to be so responsible for the betterment of women's professional wrestling. And we may not even know it now, because those women may still be girls, or may just be becoming women, and maybe just, you know, thinking about getting into a wrestling school, but they've been influenced by these great high-level matches, and these matches, which again can be taken seriously, can break the mold, can main event, can headline, can be looked as legitimate, right? And I just think that that's super exciting. And I think this is the absolute right time for us, because this is, you know, maybe a couple of years ago, if you were to say, oh, Mercedes Moné is coming in, who can she wrestle? There might be maybe 2 or 3 girls you could probably pick from, right? Now I think there's probably 20 girls you could pick from. And I think another exciting thing about that show on April 20th is we've got Women's Revolution Gauntlet on that show, where we're going to be able to showcase even more women on that event as well, and get the opportunity. Hopefully, there'll be some fans of women's wrestling tune in who will now get some favorite women's wrestlers out of that Revolution Gauntlet. So it's just a huge opportunity to open people's eyes. I don't think it can be understated. I think it's insane when I hear negativity surrounding Mercedes Moné and everything she's done for this sport. She took a bet on herself. You can't downplay her achievements before she became Mercedes Moné, let alone since she's become Mercedes Moné. I think she's got a body of work over the last 18 months which stand up to any professional wrestler in the world. And I genuinely hope that history will look kindly back on this period and how important Mercedes Moné has been for this period in not just women's professional wrestling, but professional wrestling in general, to show there is a world outside of, the WWE. And let me stress as well, she's doing it because she wants to do it. That's it.
Yeah.
I wanted to give you your own standing ovation, and I wanted to get up and just cheer and go mental. That was amazing.
He's a spokesperson for wrestling in the world. Decided. It's decided right here. Andy, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for taking the time out. I just realised we've been going almost 2 hours. This is how passionate we are about wrestling.
Everyone's going to be upset at me today.
Before we let you go, though, plug social media's websites. Where can people find yourself and RevPro out in the world?
So the main thing is revolutionprowrestling.com. On that, you'll find all the links to all our events. And then there's revproondemand.com, which is our streaming on-demand service. Every single event is streamed live. If there's any hiccups or anything, it goes up. The high-quality version goes up within 48 hours in general. But there's an archived version of the live event straight after the event. So that's every single show we produce is on revproondemand.com. You can see our full back catalogue as well. It's great value. It's something like £7.49 a month. You can cancel at any time. But for example, if you were to sign up now, you'd get that Mercedes Moné show included. We're live in London at the weekend, and then the weekend after in Southampton. Then the weekend after that, it's the high stakes Mercedes Moné show. And then the week after that, we're back in London. So, you sign up now, and you will get 4 live shows as well as our entire back catalogue. And that's not uncommon for, revproondemand.com, the amount of shows that we produce. So check it out. Like I say, everything we do is one fan at a time. The only way we can do this is with the support of fans. Please, the message I can give is just support all wrestling. Remember, we're all wrestling fans. There's no need for tribalism. We all love the one thing that 90% of the population thinks is stupid. So just bear that in mind when you're arguing with each other. The rest of the world is looking at you thinking you're stupid. So let's agree to disagree on some things and understand that professional wrestling is a wonderful, wonderful thing. If you want to see me individually, my Twitter's @aQuildan, QAQUILDAN. And every now and again I tweet. I don't tweet often, but when I do, it's good. Okay, so that's all we've got, really. But keep supporting. And if you made it this far, congratulations and thank you.
Andy, you absolute hero. Thank you so very much.
Andy, my friend, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you massively, and have an absolutely fucking wonderful Monday.
No problem. You too, guys. Thanks very much.
Take care, my friend. See you later. Bye-bye.
Cheers, mate.
Bye-bye.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another wonderful, superb edition of the Chronicles of Podcast. We are blessed to have Andy Quildan on this week. Like, the RevPro Wrestling, Revolution Pro. If you're not a fan, you fucking should be by the end of this now. Like, absolutely privileged, I think is the word that we had Andy on this week. So I hope you all enjoyed the interview, if you've been on the audio and checked it already, or if you've watched it before you've come to us. But if you haven't watched it yet, what are you fucking doing? By all means, get involved. Lots of lovely Will Ospreay stories, which we love. But still, welcome back, the 165th edition. Jamie, I was having a thought, right, because I was walking through Elon. Living in London, obviously, it's quite multicultural, it's quite diverse and that sort of thing, and it's just looking around. What do you reckon is classed as like cool brands in other countries? Do you know what I mean? Like, because you know, like, I don't know, Nike might be big, but it might be like Prada in Italy, or it might be something completely different. Do you know what I mean? Because here, I think we, like, Nike is obviously a thing, but people like wear band t-shirts. Like, I wonder what's like the cool thing to wear in other countries.
That's a really good question.
Because, now this made me physically sick.
Okay.
All right.
Good way to start.
Do you remember the buttoned up shirts with like dragons and stuff on, and like fire, and then like Hawaiian shirts?
Remember, I owned one.
Scotland Rugby have decided to make a Hawaiian shirt, right? Who the fuck is going to buy that?
Why?
It's horrendous. As soon as I opened it, I was like, what the fuck is that?
There's nothing even Scottish about it apart from the logo.
Yeah. It's got the Scotland Rugby on it, and it's got, I think, the Macron thing in the top corner, but the rest, it's awful.
Why?
There's a thing that people, I think, on a Pittsburgh Steelers website, it's called "Who Would Buy This Tat?"
I can go on it.
Anyway, I kissed one of my first girls wearing a fucking dragon button-up shirt at 15 at a holiday club in Devon.
Yes,
Or Weymouth or whatever it was. Yeah. It was red with a dragon over it. I don't know how the fuck I put that on. No idea.
I found a picture of me in mine very recently. It was black with a yellow dragon thing on it. It's a delightful photo.
Why did we think they were cool back in the day?
I don't know.
Like Hawaii, they're called shit shirts now, aren't they? Like rugby players wear them for like nights out and stuff like that. But that is a sight to behold.
I mean, they could have had some fun with that. They could have really like Scottished it up, like covered it in thistles and all sorts of shit.
Well, it's our national colours are on it.
Okay.
So the green, the purple, and the blue. But it's still a bit. I don't know. I was a bit like, what is that?
That's far too happy for Scottish people.
But we'd fucking buy it, mate. And we'd get drunk in it, and we'd be out in it, and people would love it. That's what would happen.
This is where you said, I've actually pre-ordered it. It's disgusting, but I've ordered it.
That's where and here it is. But I think because of the nation that we are, the people that we are, I think that they know they'd sell it because we'd be like, man, that's fucking incredible. I definitely want me one of those. Going down Edinburgh fucking street in this bad boy. I'll get me all the fucking babes. No, Colin. No, it won't. No. My fucking wife's embarrassed to be around me. Anyway. Obviously, a massive big fuck you to the President of the United States right now. A huge, massive fuck you. Did you see the story about Dropkick Murphys?
No.
So I remember I told you about a couple of weeks back that I was pretty livid about something.
Yes.
Basically, Elon Musk has blocked Dropkick Murphy's Twitter account because they ripped the piss out of Donald Trump and Elon on stage. Oh, how scared. Oh, you've blocked our social media. Oh, what are we going to do now? Basically, there was a fan with a MAGA shirt on, and they said, if you take that off, we'll give you a Dropkick Murphys t-shirt for free. And basically, we support the working people. We love this country. You know, we are here for the American people. And the guy agreed, and then Elon went and blocked their Twitter.
What a pathetic twat. What happened to the First Amendment and free speech and all that shit?
Oh, yeah, it doesn't happen in a dictatorship, mate. Not with Nazis around.
Wow, yeah.
I know we can't say it on here, but they're big fucking Nazi C words. That's what they are. That's all I can say about that. Sorry. I'm sorry. I won't do it again, I promise. Because a big fuck them.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
The French made a joke about taking the Statue of Liberty back after they gifted it to them 140 years ago. And Trump's secretary was like, you don't be speaking German. If it wasn't for us in World War II, fuck you as well. Right the way fucking off. Oh. Anyway.
It feels like a terrible sitcom. It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the world's gone a bit mad.
It's what happens when you put morons in power. Anyway. Let's have some fun shit.
Yeah.
At work, we have bells for each room. Okay? So obviously 1, 2, 3, 4. But then weirdly around the corner is 10. Don't ask me why. Anyway, yeah. And then, but they have other buttons for like 6, 7. So when it goes 6, 7, 8, we're all going, well, where the fuck is that? Anyway. This is about 2 or 3 months. So my Optom had to remind me of this because I'd forgotten all about it. It was a Thursday because he only works Thursdays with me. Ding dongs, room number 4. It's like, perfect, I'll go and get it. As soon as I walked in the room, mate, so we have to wait happily outside if they're having conversations about, personal stuff going on. So we have to wait, and then the uptown goes, yeah, come on in. So Dennis goes, come on in. So I walked in. First thing this lady says to me, can you sniff my daughter?
What?
Excuse me? It's like, this is the weirdest request I've ever. We're not even filming right now. Like, so she literally was like, can you sniff my daughter? And her daughter went, hi. We were both a bit like, what the fuck is going on? Dennis was looking at me going, yeah, she's being legit, being really real right now. She wants you to sniff her daughter. Okay. So I obliged. I was like, are you okay with me doing this? And she was like, yeah, it's fine. I was like, okay. So I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, you smell wonderful. What's going on? Basically, this lady, I think she'd been smoking or something. And she was worried about the scent being in the room or something or other. The passive smoke going onto her daughter, basically, was what it was all about. But she literally was like, can you sniff my daughter? She went, smell her, smell my daughter. Like, ah!
What the fuck?
Is this, am I on OnlyFans now? In some weird fetish room thing where it's like a secret camera recorded here or something like body cam.
You do work in Specsavers, don't you? You haven't changed jobs.
It worries me that you did that to begin with, but yes, I do work in yeah. He just went, you do work in Specsavers, don't you?
Because I was going to go 2 things and then ended up backing out saying 2 things and just asked a question.
It literally just, it's the way it just went and it just like snuck into shot. You're like, you do work in Specsavers, don't you? Yeah, I thought you did. Please don't do that again.
I'll try not to. 1 thing. No. How old was this person?
Anyway, so you do work in Specsavers. Oh, I forgot to wash it. Oh.
Yeah. How old was the daughter?
I can't remember because it was ages ago.
Okay.
It was literally just like, it was almost like a threat. Smell my daughter now.
Smell with you?
Yes, madam. Of course. At once. Weird, dude. So weird. But I forgot all about it. I forgot all about it. Dennis was like, do you remember that woman that should smell her daughter? And I was like, no. We were at work, right? Like, what the fuck happened there?
That's so bizarre.
It was so bizarre.
I don't even know what to say to that. That's so fucking weird.
No, yeah, dude, it was just the shit that happens in London, eh?
Well, yeah, just odd, and all the way odd.
All the fucking way odd.
Yeah, all the way odd.
No, anyway, let's move on. Let's move on. Southcast Treachings.
Hello, this week's Treachings come from the set of my own podcast, That Gym Couple Podcast, that I host with my partner Lucy, where we discuss all things gyms, fitness, gym anxiety, and a bunch of other stuff in between. If you do have the opportunity to come and check us out at That Gym Couple Podcast on Spotify and YouTube, we'd very much appreciate it.
Callum is back once again to reach the world, the nation, the universe, the people of Madagascar. All his wonderful and beautiful brain of his. He has prepared us for this one and said it's 3 of his favourites. So we'll see how this goes down. Yeah. Jamie, bring him on in. What is Callum teaching us this week?
A crocodile has an advantage over a lion in deep water, and a lion has an advantage over a crocodile on land. So there must be a point where the water levels are deep enough but also shallow enough that it's an even fighting ground.
Who would fuck it? A lion will win that, surely.
Surely. But
do you think
cats and water don't mix?
No. But it's not like they could come from behind because the crocodile would be facing. So it's not like they could do their usual sneak attack, in the I was going to say hedges. That's not what that. There's no fucking la la la. They're chopping their hedges in Africa. Like, I'm going to make a swan. Yes, perfect, lovely. Just chopping away. Look, there's a fucking lion and a crocodile coming towards me. I am fucked right now. Bollocks. I wish I'd become a poacher.
That would have made more sense in this place. Yes.
Yeah, but it's in the reeds, I guess, the grassy knolls of Africa. I suppose I'm assuming because I don't think lions are anywhere else. than Africa, or in zoos.
Oh.
Yeah, don't agree with zoos. Anyway, but yeah, because they can't sneak up behind, and crocodiles will literally have their eyes out, won't they? Like, yes, I am surfacing. Wait, but if I go to surface, I will get killed by the lion. So I will stay here, where you can only see my bulging eyes. Anyway, I don't really want to die. He can't come from behind me because he doesn't like water. So I'm pretty safe where I am. Yum! I do like me some lion. I wonder if anyone's killed a lion. Do you reckon any crocodiles have fought lions?
I don't know. All I know is I don't think I'm ever going to get the image of you doing that out of my head ever. That's really creeping me out.
This is the water level here. So then they've got crocodile eyes. Hello, Jamie.
Because your glasses, it's just really freaking me out. But, yes, I think the crocodile takes this.
I don't think either of them do. I think the crocodile won't move and the lion won't go for it because it can see it.
I'll be honest, when he was saying, like, in water, it's the crocodile, on the land, it's the lion, so they need to do a triathlon to find a winner. That's where I thought I was going then, but...
I was waiting for an air animal. Bird.
Oh!
Preferably. I was waiting for a bird. There were the air animal, is there? Bar a bird.
That's a very good point, actually.
Yeah.
Mosquitoes or insects, but I don't think they're doing very well in this fight.
Yeah, but they're not an animal. No. They would fucking... Mind you, I don't think I've ever seen a mosquito. Ever. Actually,
I've been bitten by them, but like in my sleep. I don't.
Do you reckon mosquitoes are like the African version of seagulls? Here, yeah, it's like mosquitoes are like buzz, motherfucker. I'm hungry. Bosh. Oh, I love that. But love me some blood. Yeah, lovely. And you're there, you just take it all, mate. Just take it all. Yeah, of course. You carry on. Yeah, you carry on. I don't like needles anyway, but I won't look. He like shrinks like a fucking prune. Buzz, better be off. Got more fucking bloods going. Yeah, mate. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. See you tomorrow.
Authentic mosquito African accent that was. I really liked it.
What's even weirder, yeah, but I'm not a racist, so. But what's even weirder is obviously the people that get offended when they haven't been bitten. Oh, am I not juicy enough for you, prick? Like, dude, be happy that you didn't get bitten and eaten by a mosquito. Not eaten. Definitely.
Fucking pigs of mosquito.
Cannibals, fucking cannibalistic mosquitoes. Oh, bloody, your arm's tasty, mate. But where was I going with this? Yeah, people that get really pissed off when they're like, "Oh, you've been bitten. Well, am I fucking not good enough for you, mate? Is that? Am I not juicy enough for you? My blood not tastes nice."
That'd be quite grand. I don't want to taste nice.
I can't remember the last one. I haven't been beaten. Fucking hell, my words come to me. Mosquitoes beat the shit out of you on the floor. Like, you fucking prick, mate. You want to be fucking eaten? I'll beat the shit out of you, son. With my 6 legs. Has it got 6? I don't know.
I have no idea.
But yeah, it's just odd how people get so pissed off when they get bitten. It's like, but then you're not there going like, fucking hell.
Yeah, that's horrible. When we went to Spain, I got bitten loads in my sleep. It's fucking horrible. Why you would be offended to not be bitten, I don't know.
Also, how did you name a horsefly? Neighbours. Hum. It's a huge fucking animal. It's just like the body of a horse with the head of a fly. That can't fucking fly properly because the body's too heavy. Fuck! I'll get this right eventually. I need more sustenance. Blood gets me out. That'll get me off the air. Off the air. Oh, I feel we should stop recording. We should just stop this altogether. Game over.
Tom's brain is melted today.
Mate, with how busy this week's been, fuck me, I am shattered. So it's like the neutrons and protons and electrons and the wiring, and my brain's just doing all this. It's like I've become ADHD out of nowhere.
It just turned into
for
ADHD.
Like 5 minutes. Yeah, I just am ADHD. That's what I am right now. Nothing's like going in. It's just going like, flies and chimneys and wheelbarrows and grass and things and lions and crocodiles and you know what I mean? Just no one knows. No one fucking knows anymore.
Not the crocodile face again.
All you're gonna hear is woo, and it's like take me away. And someone new's gonna sit down and be like, "Hello, mate, how are you? What are we doing here then? Something fun?"
I'll sit in.
Anyway, we should probably move the fuck on before I start ranting about something else.
Probably.
What else is Callum teaching us this week?
Airport security can probably tell who's starting their trip and who's leaving their trip based on how well the bag's packed.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
Do you know what I hate though? It's when it's like I'm gonna have to look through your luggage. I always feel like they do it for the piss take. I wonder if they have like bets on who could fuck up the luggage the most. You've been there, neatly pack it. Like, oh, I'm so proud. It's actually all gone in. You've taken too much, but you've managed to get it in. It fit. It wheels beautifully. All good. Excuse me, mate. I'm gonna check your bags. Oh shit! This fucking ripped on it and starts fucking throwing it out like, that's how we're looking here then, mate. Right, so you've got nothing to take on holiday with you, but I haven't found what I was looking for because basically there was nothing I was looking for anyway. So there you go, there's your suitcase back. All your clothes are over there, shoes are over there, I think toiletries are over there somewhere. Fucking enjoy your holiday, mate. You've got 5 minutes to get playing anyway. See you later.
Random bag check on board. Let's go. Yeah.
There cannot be any security guard ever that goes, right. Trousers down. I can't get excited about that, surely.
No.
I bet they go, I really don't want to do this. Please don't make me. Oh, okay. Random drug search. Oh, God. Where's Brian? Fucking Brian loves this shit. Why am I left-handed all of a sudden? I'm not actually left-handed.
Random cavity search.
Oh, mate.
I imagine right at the back, they're just like, I don't want to do it, Dave. Rock, paper, scissors. Whoever loses goes out. I don't want to do it.
Can you just bend over and gape your arsehole to me, please, mate? I'm not going to go in. That's what I have a look. Get shine torch down there. Fucking hell. Yeah, fucking hell. Can I tell? Yeah. That's a fucking ghost coming out there. What's going on here? Just pops out like, leave me alone.
I took all the drugs.
What do you want? Oh, don't mind Charlie. That's why I shove drugs up my ass. He's a bit of a bandit, a bit of a fucking ass bandit. Loves being up there.
Keeps him quiet on the flat. Just feed him a bit of drugs.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I feel like airport security staff just love to fuck the baggage up anyway.
Oh yeah, 100%. I remember when we went to Spain and they were looking for something in Becky's bag, if memory serves. I think there was liquid or something. You know, they're like, the liquid's got to be in a clear bag for some fucking reason. And yeah, they were just.
Because you can make bombs, Jamie. You can make fucking bombs.
Perfume bomb. Fuck's sake. Yeah, they were just like ripping shit out. I was like, come on. I'm not going to try and pack that while other people are waiting for us and they want to move, and like, which is adding more pressure.
Don't put liquids in your fucking bags then, mate.
I think it was an accident. I can't remember now.
An
accident. Sun lotion. Right. I don't even think it was perfect. It was like sun lotion. I got missed by accident. I can't remember now. I've slept since then.
Yeah, it's fine. Carrie used to be terrible for it.
Yeah.
It used to be terrible. She'd leave all her electronics in the suitcase, even though I fucking told her you need to take them out. Oh, my straighteners! I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. She was just atrocious every time. She travels more than I fucking do.
Know the rules by now. Yeah.
Do you reckon I was fucking autistic or something? Like, I'm so to the latter. I'm so honed in on things. I'm like, yes, this is how we do it. This is autistic Tom, by the way. Hello. I just like honed in here with my hands. Like, this is how we're going to do things. I must do things to the latter and properly. And so I just go through and glide through everything and all is well. I don't know.
We're meeting other personalities today. I like it.
Yeah, I know. The film Split is actually based on me. I think James McAvoy did a fucking amazing job of it. The way he portrayed me was beautiful.
Well, they picked the Scotsman, so it works. So
exactly. Legend. And then
I love that film.
It's so good.
Yeah.
But then when he turns that huge fucking "I'm gonna kill you" monster at the end is how I wank.
Climb the wall.
Yeah. Oh, anyway.
The Beast. That's it. That's what he calls him.
Yeah. No, he's on the chase.
Fuck's sake.
Awful. Sorry.
That was bad.
That was so awful.
If I say a joke's bad, it's bad.
That's how I named it.
Watching the chase. You remind me of my penis.
He looks like a massive, big, veiny fucking chode. There we go.
You never hear the word chode anymore.
If Andy's watching this, I'm so fucking sorry. He's deleted all the tags, he's deleted all the shares, he's deleted everything. Oh, don't be associated with these weirdos. Fucking hell. Anyway, James, and finally, what is Callum teaching us this week?
In this modern age, our brains are so quick to recognise ads that we skip them without a moment's thought.
Oh, 100%. 150%.
Life is just an advert now, isn't it?
Well, yeah, pretty much, to be fair. Like, literally, as soon as you click on a YouTube video, it's like, skip ad, bye. I might have wanted that. No idea.
Have you ever bought off an advert you've seen?
Never.
No, neither have I.
Never once in my life.
Yeah, I think the only adverts I look out for are funny ones that I enjoy, like Scoop There It Is, obviously, from Geico, which I really thoroughly enjoy with Tag Team. Obviously, people look out for the Coke. I don't get, it's not Christmas yet. I haven't seen the Coca-Cola advert. No, I don't give a fuck if it's December 24th. I've still not seen the fucking Coca-Cola advert. You don't get any fucking presents until Mummy sees your fucking Coca-Cola advert. No, fuck off. You don't get anything. Santa's not even going to come because your mother's not seen a fucking Coca-Cola advert. Christmas ain't real. Not happened.
So few people watch actual television now. I'm surprised anyone sees these adverts.
Yeah, but they're everywhere, mate. Phone. I think fucking social media, it used to be for socially mediaing, when you used to actually talk to people and actually engage in shit, and now it's just fucking adverts.
Yep.
Right, that's it. Yeah. Or fake news. It's just bullshit. It's insane how much fake stuff everywhere now as well.
It's all, yeah. The internet's weird.
But yeah, it's baffling now how literally everything is just a fucking advert. And how life has become one big advert. People are trying to, like us, trying to sell our brand. We're trying to, get our face out there, get our show out there, that sort of thing. But everyone's got fucking TikTok now, and everyone's got fucking Instagram, live and influencers and followers, and dude, the whole world's become this huge fucking advert now that we are just selling ourselves. They steal all our data. They take all our data and sell it on. We are just big. We are now products ourselves.
Yep. It wouldn't be so bad if it was people like ourselves and other creators that are doing it. That's fine. When you've got big multi-million-dollar companies going, I'm going to advertise on TikTok, mate. You're already famous. Just stick in your lane.
Yeah, but they won't. But they won't. And that's what will happen from now on in. With national insurance stuff going up for employers to pay more to look after their staff, companies are now getting rid of people or knocking people's hours down so they don't have to pay for it. So luckily, I'm not going to be one of those people, but it is happening within my company too. It's like, it's getting rid. We're going to still hammer you to fuck with shitloads of people coming in, but you're going to have very little staff to deal with it. And that's what retail's going to become now. It's just everyone's going to be inundated with loads and loads of fucking people be absolutely fucking wiped out every day because they won't staff it properly, so they don't have to pay for anybody, so they can go on their 15,000 holidays.
I think Birmingham is a great example of that at the moment with our fucking bin strikes. So, yeah.
You got bin strikes?
Yeah, we've had bin strikes. Our bins haven't been collected in like 4 weeks. The streets are covered in bins because people who don't have cars can't take them to tips. The tips are fully booked. They're saying, put your bin bags next to your bin if it's full. That's not a problem. They're being ripped open by foxes and whatever else. It's fucking disgusting. It's what you think Birmingham looks like. That coming here is now actually coming true. It's covered in shit.
It always has been.
Great. No, even more so.
Putting shit on top of shit now.
Yeah, it's fucking disgusting. It really is. My outside the front, I'm playing bin Jenga because I don't want to put bin bags on the floor. They're sort of balanced precociously. Yeah, it's fucking pissing me off.
Yeah, I bet. But fair play to them.
Yeah, because the bin workers are striking because they want to cut all their hours. I think they want to take like an $8,000 pay cut and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah.
Sainsbury's just got rid of loads of stuff.
Hello.
Someone else has cut like 8,000 jobs as well. Like everyone's cutting loads of jobs because they don't want to pay people so that they can fucking live in their ivory towers and eat. We're going to be like a Victorian era again. We're all going to be fucking living out in the streets, getting scraps of food thrown out our windows so we can eat.
Yep. Everyone's cutting money. Everyone. But
it's crazy, man. It's a crazy world we live in.
Yay!
And now we've got tariffs from Nazis. Hooray! Yeah, well, now worth that because we use Zoom.
Oh, shit, that's a good point. Yeah, is that going to go up?
Oh, I don't know. Ooh. I don't know. But anyway.
This was the last episode. It's too expensive now. Bye.
Thanks, Callum. Callum, mate, thank you so much. Love it. Absolutely beautiful as always. Absolutely beautiful as always. We always appreciate the treatures. I did actually discover a new stupid sport.
Ooh.
In the Czech Republic, they have started doing blindfolded MMA.
For fuck's sake.
It's fucking stupidly pathetic.
Say goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.
They don't hit each other. Obviously,
Say, I
they
imagine
can't fucking
find
see.
each other.
The referee gets like, just gonna wait. There's one point where I think where one does hit someone, but then they're forever just like swinging. You're like, it's funny for about 5 seconds, and you're like, this is boring now. Who the fuck wants to watch this shit?
What the fuck is the point in this?
Yeah, no
How
idea.
does someone win? Does it just time out?
No, you just gotta beat the shit out until they forget knock them out. But it's whenever you find them, I guess. I wonder if they're still fighting right now.
Probably. They're still the
They're
first
all fucking
match.
still sat there, yeah.
Just walking
3
around
months
a
on.
circle in the octagon, just walking, trying to find each other. Fuck.
Can we just leave sports alone as they are? Because it's just getting ridiculous now.
Fair enough if you made like a funny gimmick and it's interesting, but that's just dumb. That's boring. Add some fun to it. Jesus Christ.
Do you remember the blindfold matches in WWE?
I literally watched one not long ago, the Jake Roberts and Rick Martel one. But it's really funny because obviously now Netflix has got it and it's all HD and everything. You can literally see Jake's fingers as he puts them up under his hood and you can see his eye. So I was like, wow, that just ruined all the magic for that from when I was a kid. Cheers for that.
Yeah, of course. Though. Like,
it's like we all knew they could see, but to actually see that they could see just ruined the entire illusion for us.
yeah, sorry, mate. Sorry to burst your bubble there.
There we are.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm tired as always, but I've been up since 4 o'clock this morning. So yeah, but yeah, other than tired because I'm on that really weird week of shifts where I do 3 different shifts in 1 week. And
we've interviewed twice.
And we've interviewed twice.
And we're recording a show.
And yesterday, my body decided to wake up 20 minutes before my alarm for a wee. So I was up at 20 to 4.
Oh, nothing worse. That's a shit superpower, that.
Yeah, and then by the time I was like finished, I was like, what is the point of going back to bed for all 5 minutes? By the time I doze off, my alarm would go off, so I just stayed up. Oh, fuck this. Yeah. So yeah, other than being tired. But I'm off tomorrow, so I can chill for a bit tomorrow.
Oh, fuck you.
You've had your day off.
My 1 day off this week at 6.
Oh,
7.
6-day week. Oh,
Yeah.
dirty.
Filthy.
Other than that, how are you?
Filthy. Fucking shattered. Like, I am so tired. It's unbelievable. So, I love my brother. I don't get to see him very often, and it's wonderful when I do get to see him. But he was here till 20 to 1 on Tuesday night, and I was like, it's great to see you, Joe, but could you fuck off? I'm knackered. But it was lovely. It was so good to see him. He went to a gig. He went to see Bill Murray in the O2 Kentish Town, who supported Sleep Token. And they had a great time. They enjoyed it. And he got to me at about 11:30. So I was like, oh, plenty. I go to bed now about midnight. And he got like 20 to 1. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, I better go home anyway. I was like, well, you got a 2.5 hour fucking drive yet? And he still went to work. Mentalist.
Fair play.
And he's dating his boss, so he can't ring in sick.
Oh, that's a rookie mistake.
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
They live together as well, so he's like, shit.
How does he phone him for sick then? Did he just roll over and be like, I'm not going in today, love?
Yeah.
Job done.
Well, she's the boss and he's the deputy manager, so
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
yeah, this is funny as fuck.
Oh, the fucking power couple of their company, Jesus.
I know. Obviously, I can't tell you where or what they do because obviously it just gives it away. Yeah, but
of course. But,
yeah, it's funny. This is very funny.
I like that. But at least he had a good time with you.
Yes, exactly. But it was amazing to see him as well. It was amazing to see him. But that's really thrown me off course. So, like, I've obviously been in work Sunday as well this week. So I've worked Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm in tomorrow and Saturday. And and we're doing 2 interviews and we're doing the show. And my body's like, fuck, man. Like, and I had to go in early on Tuesday as well. So it's like, I'm absolutely fucked. I'm not joking. I got into bed. I laid before I even got dressed, fucking hell, changed out my work uniform. I in my bed. I just led there. I was like, I'm gonna fall asleep in a minute. I'm gonna have to get up. And I just led there for 10-15 minutes, been like dozing. I'm like, no, need to get up.
Your body telling you need an early night.
What's that?
Yeah, precisely.
Play my brain tonight. Is that happening?
That's for fuck's sake. Don't help yourself.
No. Anyway, what's been going on with you, my friend?
Not a fat lot, to be honest. I haven't even been to see the kids yet this week. I've not really done a lot. Obviously, I've been Rihanna-ing and stupid fucking shifts. We've done 2 interviews and now the show today. And I've been rewatching all of the WrestleManias. I wanted to get into the WrestleMania spirit. So I started at WrestleMania 1 and I'm literally watching them back to back to back to get to modern day. Because some of them I've never watched. Some of the more recent ones I never actually ever watched. And some of them I haven't watched since I was a kid. So I've literally finished WrestleMania 10 this afternoon, ready to start WrestleMania 11, which I don't remember being very good. So that should be interesting. But yeah, I'm enjoying rewatching some of these. It's quite fun.
Where were you? Obviously, when we interviewed Andy back on Monday, you were at 9, weren't you?
I was just about to start 9. I was on 8.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've just been plowing through them. I've been really enjoyed it. It's been a nice change. 9 was tough. I forgot 9 was really pretty terrible. But there we are. But yeah, I'm enjoying going through them again. It's been like, it's just quite weird seeing how much things change in a year. Like, it's mad how much some things have changed in a year. Like, Lex Luger in WrestleMania 9 is a complete bastard. And then in 10, he's like, everyone's America's fucking hero, the next Hulk Hogan sort of thing. Like, odd. Very odd. But yeah, that's pretty much me. I haven't, like I said, haven't done a lot this week. What about you?
Well, very much so. Obviously, re-entering. I had to go to work early on Tuesday for a training session where they promised breakfast of a pastry and a coffee. The coffee was delicious, though. No. But it was mandatory, apparently. So that happened. I saw Kelly last Saturday. She chilled here. We were together all day. It was really nice before she went out. But she had a really bad night's sleep the night before. So that was that. So she was out for like an hour, I think, until she went home. So I saw her Saturday. We literally laid in bed, chilled, watched TV, and did fuck all. But it meant that I played Resident Evil. Oh, no, I played Resident Evil the week before, didn't I? I didn't play it. When did I mentioned it last week.
Yeah.
That I'd started playing it properly, and I bored it to death with 5 hours worth.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I finished it.
Fucking hell.
I've completed it.
So you went from I refuse to play this game to I've now completed it in 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, not even that. It's about a week, I think I finished it in. It's amazing. The story was unreal. Once you got past the initial, I don't like that I can't see my character thing, it was fucking excellent. It did make me feel sick at some points there with the motion and stuff, so I had to stop at points. I was getting really bad headaches. But it was fucking sensational. The story was unreal. I loved every second of it, and I can't wait for 9. 9's been announced. But that story's now finished. So I'm excited to see what's coming next. But yeah, it was sensational. Loved every second of it. I did that thing again where the boss kept killing me. I was like, fuck! And I was like, okay, if she does it one more time, I'm turning it off. Then I beat her.
I love it when that happens.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, there we are. 2 huge twists in it as well. There was one I was like, oh fuck, and then about and like another part later, I was like, oh fuck. I love it when things happen like that. So good, so good. So I've seen Kelly. I finished Resident Evil 8 Village. We've done 2 interviews with Andy, which you've heard now, and with the amazing Lauren Babbitt, which is out next week. Oh my god, unbelievable! And then just re-animating my ass off, really, boys. To be honest. Playing Braden tonight. I've been playing a lot of Phasmo with Kelly, Ashley, and Gareth. And other than that, man, not a whole ass of a lot really going on.
Fair play. Pretty quiet one. Then I guess we're all caught up.
And it's single of the week.
Yeah.
Go on. I can go first. Go on,
It's
mate.
my turn to go first. My single of the week this week. Well, actually, I want to give a shout out song first, and then I'll go into single of the week because this would have been my single of the week when we had the week off, but I fucking love this song, and I'm kind of gutted I never got to mention it. So you know my absolute fucking love for Youngblood. I know not a lot of people do, but I fucking love Youngblood. Have you heard his new song?
No.
It's 9.5 minutes long. It's like 3 separate songs broke up. It's called Hello Heaven Hello, and it's fucking superb. Like, I don't know what this new sound he's going for is, but mwah, keep at it, Dom, because it's fucking great, and I can't wait to hear more. But anyway, I'll get to my actual single of the week now. My single of the week this week, obviously, I was going through the release radar, and I saw a band that we all fucking loved when we were younger. He had the feathers in his hair, and that beautiful song, In the Shadows. Whoa, great song. And I was like, the Rasmus are back. Had no idea they were back. And they've released a song called Creatures of Chaos. I was like, I'm intrigued. Let's give it a listen. It's bloody great. I was not expecting it to be as good as it was. So yeah, that is my sing of the week. Creatures of Chaos by the Rasmus. I had a look. There's no news on a new album or anything coming up, but it makes sense why this song is so damn good because it was written with Desmond Child. I don't know if you know who Desmond Child is,
No.
but he's a songwriter who's worked with fucking everyone. He wrote I Was Made for Loving You with Kiss. He wrote Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi. He wrote Living La Vida Loca with Ricky Martin. Like, dude has written with so many different artists and stuff like that. He's just like a songwriting god. So the fact that he wrote that, it makes sense why it's so damn good. Yeah. Creatures of Chaos by the Rasmus. Go listen to it. It's fucking great.
My single of the week this week, it's a great song, but there's also a really, really powerful message behind it. Now, my song is Safe House by Kami Kiko, Colorblind, and Echo, a rapper who I absolutely love. It was released on Friday, obviously, single of the week. Echo wrote a post about this single, and it really made me go, fuck, it's really good as to why it's called Safe House and what it's all about.
Okay.
Echo writes, in January during the LA wildfires, I had a group of friends who were evacuated from their homes stay at my place in Vegas. It was a crazy time full of emotions. Everyone was really anxious or scared, just full of uncertainty. The silver lining was that it put a bunch of very talented artists together in a room with the only tools we know how to use. And out of destruction, we were able to create something. I worked with Travis and Colorblind before, so I already knew his insane talent, but I hadn't previously known Kami Kiko. And damn, was I missing out. She's incredible. The three of us together on the same song is just wild, man. Safe House was produced, written, and recorded in that home during that time with the intention of putting it out to help raise money for the people affected by the wildfires. Here we are a couple months later, and that's exactly what we still plan to do. It's now out.
That's fucking beautiful.
Amazing, isn't it?
That's really beautiful.
Yeah. And the song's unbelievable as well.
It's a very good song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Echo, no matter what he puts his mind to, whether it be rap, whether it be rock, whether it be country, pop, whatever he does, just goes, there's the ball, smash it at the park, see you later, thanks very much. Everyone go and check it out. And please donate where you can, obviously, to the LA wildfires. It was a horrible, horrible time. You know, a lot of people, we were worried about a lot of our previous guests that live around that area. And whatnot, but the fact that they went and wrote that song together, it's like a happy accident. Do you know what I mean? They just happen to stay together. It's like, oh, here we go. Here's a song we've just written.
That's
so yeah,
awesome. Yeah. I absolutely love that because, you know, like they say, like they're all stuck in this situation. Hold on, we're musicians. Let's make something beautiful out of this shitty situation. And they produce something fucking great. So yeah, fair play. That's amazing. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
So love it. Two wonderful singles. Make sure you go and check them out right now because it's now time for Tom's Journal, and nobody wants to watch that.
Yeah, they do.
And welcome to another edition of Tom's Journal. Another edition. Here we are once again. Interviewer. It says here that you were never taken, you never went to jail. Me, correct, because I was taken.
Fuck's sake.
I fucked it because I said taken first as well.
To be fair, I didn't even click on you said that first, but it just took me a second to click on, and that was a true fucking barrel scraper.
We love barrel scrapers, mate.
It's been a while, yeah. I like it.
Jamie, I think doctors will step out of the room to search things up on Google.
I am pretty convinced that happens. I reckon that's why they carry little computers with them now.
Yeah.
They're not unsure. They're like, fuck, something good.
Yeah. You say pain in your ear, you say. Hang on, I spelled it wrong. I mean, I'm just looking at my notes. And you're having a whooping cough. Yes, perfect. Google says, I believe it's this. Take some meds, you'll be fine. Oh, you've got cancer. Fuck, I got it wrong. He died.
That's what you get for trusting Google. Yeah. Who needs a medical degree?
Do you know, I really fucking hate it when people talk to their Apple Watch, you fake ass Power Ranger.
If I had an Apple Watch, I'd be changing Siri's name to Zordon without fail. You got to change your Siri's name to Zordon. Or Alpha, one of the two.
Did you know that a male bee's testicles explode during sex? killing him instantly. That means if you see a bee flying around, chances are he's a virgin, fucking nerd.
Saw that going.
Oh, so good. Oh, this is a Jamie. I reckon you're going to fucking love this. If the person who named walkie-talkies named everything in life. Stamps. Licky sticky. Defibrillators. Hearty starty. Bumblebees. Fuzzy buzzy. A pregnancy test. Maybe baby. A bra. A breasty nesty.
That's incredible.
A fork. Stabby grabby. Socks. Feety heaty. A hippo. Floaty bloaty. And finally, a nightmare. Screamy dreamy.
They are all fucking incredible. But breasty nesty and hearty starty, mwah, they are phenomenal.
So good. So good. This next entry also Kelly's going to look at her screen now and go, for fuck's sake. Somebody asked Chat GPT a question to which Joe Hendry had to share it because it's so fucking good. Someone asked Chat GPT, can I sue Joe Hendry for false advertising if I say his name and he doesn't actually appear? To which ChatGPT said, no, you generally cannot sue Joe Hendry for false advertising simply because you say his name and he doesn't appear. For a false advertising claim to be valid, there must be a misleading or deceptive advertisement that causes harm or damages, and it typically involves a promise that the person or business fails to deliver on. And Joe Hendry put that on his Instagram and was like, it's a fucking great question, actually.
I really hope that's satire that someone asked that. I really do.
He shared it on his Instagram. You can look on his Instagram. It's on there.
No, I mean, like, the person that asked it originally. I really
Oh, yeah.
hope
It's
that's
not
satire.
yeah. Of course it is. Of course it is. They're having a laugh. I love it. It's incredible.
Never know, wrestling fans.
But Kelly is so sick of say his name and he appeared. I know. She's like,
can't be sick of Joe Hendry.
I sent it. She went, what the fuck have you sent me? And I went, but do you believe? You have to believe.
Have to believe.
Yeah. Otherwise, we can't be together. It's as simple as that. Wife, will you put your daughter down? Me to daughter. Do you want to be an astronaut, but you can't even wipe your own ass? Good luck with that. Wife, no, I meant for a nap. iPhone. I'm going to update your software for you tonight while you sleep. Next morning. iPhone, look, bro, I just couldn't do it. It just didn't feel right. The vibe was off. So fucking true.
I don't have an iPhone, but the amount of times I'll wake up to a Samsung one, you'll install it and then you go, there's absolutely fuck all difference with my phone right now. What did you just waste my time doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So imagine the pottery scene from Ghost, but it's me helping the guy at Olive Garden put some more cheese on my pasta.
Oh, God. I like that. I can just picture in my head, is what makes it even better.
Right, I'll give you a couple more, because these last two are fucking excellent. Jamie, cheating should affect your credit score. If Susan can't trust you, why should Nationwide?
You cheated on season, David. Are you going to cheat on us, David? Are you going to hit your repayments, David? I don't trust you.
Fucking excellent. This last entry is just... I think you're going to... I don't know if you're going to hate it or if you're going to love it. I don't know which way around this is going to be for you. If you're going to think it's a barrel scraper or if you're going to love it, but we'll see.
Okay.
Jamie, the past tense of William Shakespeare is would I was Shakespeared.
Okay, that's fucking great.
Because that was another edition of Tom's journal.
I don't know what I like more, what it is, or the fact someone sat there and worked that out.
Yeah. Would I was Shakespeare. So good.
That's fucking great. I like that a lot.
So clever.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
It's about getting into schools and talking to young people because, you know, I know that people can change. And it's about talking to people and getting them to understand and perhaps step back from violence and prejudice and whatever. And we just need to work together and keep on the good fight there.
Absolutely. Hey there, guys. We are ecstatically happy to announce that we are associated with the Sophie Lancaster Foundation.
The times are changing, and with the unfortunate death of Sophie, those changes have made a massive impact for the future. If Sophie was with us still today, I can guarantee what you are doing will still be reaching so many lives of young teenagers, young adults, and those who wish to be as different as possible. So thank you very much.
To find out more about this incredible foundation and all the work they do, and more importantly, how you can help, head on over to www.sophielancasterfoundation.com.
Mr. Stevens, Mr. Stevens, Mr. Stevens.
I know why you've asked me this. I sang that, sorry. Interesting. Say his name and Jamie appears. Let's all participate. Let's all participate.
It's audience participation time. Do, do, do. Participation time. Do, do. Participate. Participate with me. Participate with me. Live and let die.
What? Oh, you changed it. That's what I was a bit like, what the fuck?
I'll give you two.
Nice. Why not? Is it because there's nothing else to Bond and doing it again?
Pretty much, yeah. There's a lot more to that other song.
Yeah. We'll participate in London and Paris and Tokyo, America, Scotland and Canada and Mexico. They say, participate with Jamie. Participate with Jamie, bitch.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to participate in Jamie's participation challenge.
That
Don't see
bit
me,
is
Joe.
My highlight every fucking week. Oh. This week, I said, the name's podcast, The Chronicles of Podcast.
Oh.
There's been 7 actors who have played James Bond so far, but this week we're asking who would be the worst person to play James Bond. And I'm not insulting people's acting skills. I just want to know who you really can't see in that role. What say you, Mr. Stevens?
My dad.
I think did your dad actually answer this saying me?
I don't really know because, like, who am I to critique on people's acting? Like, who am I to critique who should be the next James Bond? You know, they should fill that role. I know it's an iconic role. You know, and people are like, oh, it shouldn't be a woman. It shouldn't be a black man. It shouldn't be anybody other than me, who I believe personally myself. But fuck everybody else. Fuck everybody else. It should be who I desire it to be.
Yeah, I don't get that. Like, that's why I thought the people that just look really weird in this role.
My dad would be like, you know, it'd be fucking a pint of lager, please, mate. Fucking how much? You know, he's driving down the fucking motorbike, chasing Peter's Aston Martin. He'd be like, yeah. So anyway, Q, we've got to chase this motherfucker. Get out of the fucking way, you prick. No, not you, Q. I'm sorry about that, mate. I don't mean to score you that. That'd be my dad. You know,
that'd be great.
But he was a bomb expert. He used to be a bomb disposal expert in the RAF, so like he knows all his bomb shit anyway.
I mean, he's got part of the thing for it then.
Yeah, so he's got some sort of spying abilities, but he's just an old, bald, fat man now, so I don't know how I do your running. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Sorry, Dad.
So, that's all right. The name's Stevens. Darren Stevens. Fucking champion name, that fucking champion name, I tell you.
Double O champion.
Most of it, all that, he'd be fucking cooking for 5 hours. He loves cooking from scratch. James, Darren, let me have someone's catch. Yeah, I'll do it in a minute, man. My fucking curry's banging. This is beautiful, this.
Fucking hell. Let's get some audience answers, though. These are fucking superb. We've had some great ones this week. Dixie S64 on YouTube has said Joe Pesci. That would be incredible. I'd watch that.
Harry.
Or Bobcat Goldthwait. I would pay money to see that version of James Bond.
I know you would. I bet you would.
I love that person's voice.
And he's Bond! James Bond!
No, Q. Fucking great. I can't do an impression of that guy. Simon Mitchell says Mr. Bean. I like how we don't say Rowan Atkinson because we've got John English. That's close enough. Mr. Bean specifically.
Bond.
That's what they'd be. Bond and Teddy.
Teddy.
Saskia Turner Edwards says, let's go for Jeff Goldblum. Not a bad actor, but a very suave and odd choice. Otherwise, someone like Adam Sandler would just be a really annoying choice. Adam Sandler as James Bond would just be the worst thing. I don't think I could make it through that film, and I love Adam Sandler. Be fucking awful. Athena on TikTok. I'm not even sure. She's not giving any reason for this. She just said Ben Affleck. What did Ben Affleck do wrong?
Yeah,
I reckon he could pull it off.
He's very Tom Cruisey, isn't he?
I suppose he can be a bit Tom Cruisey.
Yeah, it's a bit weird and nah.
The chin. Yeah. Ellie Cleaton. Mr. Blobby. This idea really amused me for a good 5 minutes sitting there giggling to myself.
Blonde me. But dude, he would fuck shit up. He would just destroy everything. And it's technically a blob, but guns wouldn't fucking kill him either.
That's a good point. He'd make a great James Bond in that case. Blob, double O blob. Be fucking great. Vicious, precious Leviathan. James fucking Corden. How is this man even famous?
Oh.
Yeah, he'd be a pretty terrible fucking James Bond, let's be honest. Dave Macavecchio. Again, this answer had me giggling for a good 10 minutes. Michael P. Donaldson, 54 from Stevenage, because he's not an actor and would probably do a terrible job. I wonder if this is a genuine person. It's just fucking beautiful. Darren Stevens. Me. Say, you're right.
He had me with my answer secretly.
Liam O'Donnell with a person I forgot existed. Timmy Mallet. That Mallet could do some fucking damage. I reckon he'd be all right. We'll get Timmy Mallet involved.
He'd get killed immediately.
Yeah, definitely. Ruby Gore. Jamie Westwood. Fuck you. I'd be great as James Bond.
Oh, dude.
Terrible as James Bond. 007, Bab. Even terrible. Yeah.
You'd need Peter Saber to fucking do. Is that what happens in your household?
Hey. Fuck off you. Becky Westwood, our daughter Olivia, she can't keep a secret. It's very true. You should be terrible. Terrible spy. But then again, she's also 7, so she'd be pretty shit James Bond.
Yeah.
Rob Mahoney, Jim Carrey.
No. Leave him alone. He'd be fucking amazing. His Riddler is sick.
To be fair, yeah, I'd actually quite like to see that. I'd be kind of intrigued what he could do with that.
The man is flexible as fuck. Nothing would hit him.
Is
that why he was the mask? Yeah.
That wasn't CGI. That was Jim Carrey.
It actually was his body, yeah.
Michael Harder is being very controversial. Nicolas Cage, whatever he's in, he's terrible, apart from Face Off.
Oh.
Michael Harder. Nicolas Cage is not terrible. Nicolas Cage is a beautiful actor. I would fucking love to see him.
But again, it's all opinion.
It is all opinion. It is all opinion. I'll give you a few more. Claire Jones, Graham Norton. That would just be fucking carnage. 2 more. Gemma Williams, Sacha Baron Cohen, but as Borat, although I'd kind of like to see that. God, could you imagine that? Be absolutely fucking terrible. And last but not least, this answer really made me laugh, but it probably shouldn't because it is mildly cruel. Mali Malpass. Sean Connery. He's been dead for 5 years.
Yeah. It's not wrong.
It's not wrong.
It's not wrong.
I would like to see all of those people play James Bond personally. I think they'd be beautiful to watch.
Is it because you're in the answers?
Yeah, pretty much. I just want a paycheck for playing James Bond. That'd be nice. I reckon I could do James Bond.
Okay, mate.
Overweight, unfit James Bond.
Good luck running across them roofs and hanging out of helicopters.
Yeah, I'll just dress up as a fireman and watch them come down instead.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, thank you to everybody that participated in Jamie's participation challenge. We appreciate you massively. Thank you so much. But if you enjoy Jamie's participation challenge, Tom's Journal Cam's Treachings, all right. And the interview, then enjoy the other 165 editions of Chronicles of Podcast, wherever you get your podcast from, be it Spotify, Google, Apple, etc. The main 2 places we'd like you to come and find us are on social media at TCO Pod or on the YouTube at the Chronicles of Podcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to get notified when your videos released, and comment to your heart's content. That's all social media at TCO Pod, and on the YouTube, come and subscribe at the Chronicles of Podcast. What, Jamie?
I just want to say a massive thank you to a few of our friends. Before we get out of here, every single piece of music you heard on today's edition was brought to you by the wonderful singer-songwriter Matt Roberts. Go check him out all social medias at Matt Roberts Music. Go follow him on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your music from, and listen to his delightful songs. And of course, we have to say a massive thank you to Mr. Braden Barry. Unfortunately, SayWeCanFly.shop is no longer a thing, but you can go and give him all your support. Go check out his wonderful podcast, Amber Forest Pictures, and go check out his other merch store, AnxiousGhost.com. And last but not least, a massive thank you to the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, because they're stamping out prejudice, hatred, and intolerance everywhere, and I mean everywhere. This is a global issue, not a UK issue, where people of the alternative community are being treated differently simply because of the way they wish to present themselves out in the world, whether it be the way they dress, the music they listen to, whatever it may be. So help us, help them. Head on over to SophieLancasterFoundation.com. Go follow them on all the social medias. They're doing some brilliant work on there at the moment. Definitely go give them all the love and support you can. And last but not least, a massive thank you to my beautiful yawning co-host over there.
I'm very tired. That's why I cover it up so no one notices. But yes, I'm fucked. I'm going to lie down and probably pass out. Another one, Jamie, right back at you. Thank you so very, very much. Make sure you go and support the Sophie Lancaster Foundation. Make sure you go and check out Braden's, all his goodies, all his songs, his wonderful music and merch, and his podcast with Dustin, Drawn to the Sky. But another wonderful edition in the bag.
Another wonderful edition indeed.
We love this so very, very much. Thank you all for tuning in once again. And as for this week, we'll see you all next week for the Chronicles of Lauren Babick.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Ta-ta.